Hey there, viewers. Thank you for tuning in to Super Mario Diagnostics once again. We are live at 7 o'clock as promised. We're giving you a case study. Some of you may be familiar with it. I actually presented this in a separate channel in Spanish. So if you are familiar with it, this is your hall pass. It's up to you to stick around if you'd like to. Thank you. But before I do anything, I would like to apologize in advance for any noise you might be hearing in the background. There is a steel mill next door to us, and it may be noisy. But if that's okay with you, we could go ahead and get started. I would appreciate if we leave the anything questions, ask me anything questions for later. Right now, we're just going to jump into the case study, leave it solely at that. If you have a question concerning the case study or anything diagnostic related, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. But for now, we'll go ahead and leave all the other stuff for later. There's plenty of time for that. I won't make it 5.5, almost 6 hours like I did last time, I promise. But I think a couple hours should do. If it gets to that, I'll try my best to answer every question, but I will put a limit to this one. I won't get carried away. I appreciate everyone who is tuning in so far. I really do. Every single one of you has made it a great journey. And it is an honor to be able to share this stuff with you guys. And to start off with the case study, I'll go ahead and say what it is. It is a 2007 Audi Q7 3.6 liter BHK engine. Some of you already know where I'm going with this because this is something that was shared in the Facebook groups, as particularly the Automotive Insight Network, the group that I created. And it was an ass kicking for sure. It was something that really got me. And it took a lot of heads put together to kind of like get down to it. Mainly because I had almost zero experience with digging in this deep on these engines. I had a timing concern on this thing. The codes were actually P0368, CMP-B, circuit high, and P0016, correlation, bank 1, sensor A. And this was something where, I had very, very little experience with Euros, particularly Audis, and especially 3.6 liter. This was the first time I ever seen this engine ever in my life. And I knew it was going to be a little tricky because although I had, picoscope, a way to do correlation waveforms and cylinder stuff, you never know. You never know with these modern engines these days. I would love to say hi. I'll go ahead and say hi to everybody in advance. I would like to just get into the case study. I appreciate you all taking the time to comment and all. I will go through each and every single one. I'm actually reading each and every single one. I appreciate you guys and girls. And to jump right in, basically, my very first test was a correlation waveform along with an in-cylinder. I wanted to see if any of those could give me what I needed to know. But before I get into the waveform itself and share that with you, I want to talk about the history of this vehicle. The history was that this vehicle was worked on in that same shop. This was a shop, this was May of last year. In that shop, Great Bear, some of you may have seen videos that I've done in the past there. This lady came in with this vehicle with this problem, with the same problem, and they found a broken guide, an upper guide, and stuck phasers. And the parts that were replaced were the timing chain, both phasers, the guides, the tensioner, the sensors, the solenoid, and they were all OEM. There was nothing aftermarket. And this was all before I ever got to the shop, before I ever arrived. And it was at my bay for the very first time. And those were the only two codes and the symptom was a very sloppy idle and very hard to run. But once you came off idle, you were good to go. It pretty much, ran beautifully. And to go ahead and share this waveform with you, let me go ahead and post it up on the screen for you guys. This is the waveform that I got. Now, mind you, I didn't have a known good, and some of you may notice something already. But before we get into that, like I said, I never had a known good. I was looking for a known good, and that's one of the reasons why I posted it in this group. And I wanted to see what was going on with the timing. You have a timing code, you're going to check timing, right? Like I said, I didn't have the experience of Europeans. So like some people might say, well, look at the block 93 or 91 or whatnot, and take a look at live data and see all this. If it's over this many degrees or percentage, then you got yourself a timing problem. But I didn't know that back then. So what I did what I could. In other words, I used a scope, which is universal to every vehicle, and attempted to utilize that in a way that would work for me, even with the lack of experience on European vehicles. So that's the electrical portion. We can see in that waveform. Let me go back to that waveform. Actually, I was already on the next one. We can see a couple of things in that waveform. Let me go ahead and share it with you guys. A couple of things stand out, right? We don't know if the correlation waveform is any good because we don't have nothing to compare it to. But we can see the in cylinder. We can see a peak compression of about 100 psi running. This is a running waveform. We can see a pretty advanced exhaust valve timing here. One of the reasons why this looks like advanced, mind you, this is not a turbocharged engine. This is just a regular naturally aspirated engine. This exhaust hump right here, this exhaust valve closing, the only way you're going to get pressure at the end of the exhaust stroke, in other words, while the piston is ascending, exhausting all the contents of the chamber, the only way you're going to get that pressure is if it is ascending against closed valves. And people who are pretty well versed in cylinder waveform analysis will usually tell you, in most cases, that you will have likely a intake valve opening slightly before the 360 mark and an exhaust valve closing a little after, around this region right here. You'll have it a little bit after the 360 degree mark. So that's one of the things that really stood out to me. To me, this was case closed, timing issue, right? This was running, cranking. I didn't have the waveform saved, so I couldn't share that with you, unfortunately. Just to address one of the comments here real quick. Somebody's asking me if I could put this in Spanglish, right? I will respond by basically saying this was done in another video. Guillermo, esto lo filmé en el canal de Autotech Video. Fue el último video que él hizo. Si estás interesado en verlo en español, por favor, visita el canal de él y lo vas a encontrar ahí. But today, we're going to do it in English. I do apologize for that. And let's go ahead and go to the next phase. I wanted to, this engine requires timing tools in order to put it in time. So we already had the tools because, well, the shop had already done some work on it. Like I said, they had done the upper chain, upper everything. Those who are familiar with this engine, you would know that there's two covers. There's the upper timing cover and there's a lower timing cover. And if you wanted to do all the chains, it would require the engine to come out and pop off both of those covers and do everything. There's no other way to do it if you want to do it completely. But the previous tech had done only the upper. They put it all in time, done the upper chain, the guides, the phasers, the solenoids, all that good stuff. And the result was uh, the same symptoms, same codes. So my next step was, well, there's an obvious in cylinder timing issue here. I want to prove it with the timing tools. There's no way these timing tools are going to go on, right? So, oh my goodness, I'm trying not to laugh at these comments, but it's good. It's okay. Now, I put a side-by-side picture of service info and the actual location of the crank. So here you can see that there's a little mark, and that's where you're supposed to line up the pulley, the front pulley. And here it is with a mirror, of course. I marked both the rear and the front of that pulley to have an easier way to see it. And that tells me my crank is at top dead center. But not only did I do this, I also checked to make sure that the piston was truly on number one top dead center. And just to eliminate any possibility of any kind of wood rough key shearing, and maybe the pulley is not at the correct clock spot, I guess you could say. I tend to do that every now and then, just because there's a lot of cars that have they have these friction rings, I guess you could call it, these friction washers, diamond encrusted washers that with a lot of torque, they hold everything in position, the crank to the pulley. And if you're not careful, or if you don't know the engine or don't read service info, you may loosen up a pulley. Oh, let me just change the front main seal, and it's out of time. So keep that in mind for those of you who do not know that already. But just to go ahead and get on with the next part, there's this plate that you put into the cams. There's these slotted cams. There's only one position this plate will go in. If you rotate these cams 180 degrees, that plate will not be inserted into those cams. So just so you know, keep that in mind. There's only one way to do this. Now, let me see where else we went with this. Because not only are you supposed to check this, make sure that those timing tools are in, you're supposed to check the cams and you're supposed to count the rollers in between the cams, and they're supposed to amount to 16 rollers. So I did just that. And let me go ahead and show you that part right there. Up top, we can see the exhaust phaser. It is identified with a 32A mark and is lined up with this mark on the hold down, I guess you could call it, or the journal. I'm losing the term for it, but I guess you get the point. Here's the 32A mark with an arrow right there, and it is somewhat lined up there. Not going to be nitpicking, but you could see it clearly. And then the intake phaser, it is identified by a 24E mark, and you can see here that this is the 24E mark along with the arrow right on that timing mark. I'm pretty sure some of you are already pretty familiar with this case, so just putting that out there. I do apologize if you wanted something fresh, but considering how many people are pretty new to European stuff or are always kind of intimidated by European stuff, well, let me show you how I got a real ass kicking by one of them when I was just first looking at them. So it's something to keep in mind when working on these vehicles. It's not just straightforward anymore. Sometimes it's a little more tricky than that. Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate that. And a lot of good comments out here, actually. Frank Daniel, that is correct. You have to know whether top dead center is true in proportion to the pulley. So there's always that risk. You never know. And let me take a look at our next portion. I took a picture of the position of the cams because service info, why not, right? So let me show you what I have here. And we have service info up top and, pictures of the cams on the bottom, just to show that the phasers weren't, even though the timing plate will eliminate that risk of a discrepancy between the cam position and the actuator, or the phasers, as some might call it. I wanted to just take a picture just for documentation's sake, and just have that on record. Basically showing that they are in their parked positions. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. One thing I did notice, I didn't check this up front. This was an advice given to me by Dusty Harrison. Some of you might know him. He's probably not watching, but that's okay because he's a busy guy. But I went ahead and checked oil pressure because you never know. And in the previous live stream in which I did it in Spanish, one of the viewers saw that the possibility of oil pressure being, I guess, diminished because of the lack of getting all the guide parts out of the oil pan and possibly getting sucked into the pickup tube. So that was a very good little insight that he had on the spot as I was presenting it. But just in case, I wasn't able to show that in that presentation, but in this one we will show that we have, with my handy dandy Harbor Freight oil pressure gauge, we can see that we have a solid 4 bars at idle, and specs call for 1.7 bar at 1500 RPM. That's going to be important later on. If you guys stick around, you'll see why this is important. But at the time, in my mind, I was thinking, hey, we got good oil pressure, right? The oil pressure isn't what the oil pump is necessarily pushing out unrestricted. It is the result of, the I guess you could say the back pressure between the oil pump output and the heads, the oil jets, and the passages, and all that good stuff. So that's gonna come into play later on. You guys will see. Let's take a look at what we got next. At this point, I didn't really have a definitive direction as to what was going on here, because if you look at the data in cylinder, we were out of time, but all my timing plates and everything was in time. So there came this huge confusion for me, and I was thinking, ooh, that doesn't make any sense. How can it be in time? How can it be not in time? The scope doesn't lie, but neither do the timing tools. The tools are going in. It's in time, but my in cylinder says it's not. And I just went back and forth and just started talking to people. Like I said, this was in the group. Plenty of times to talk to others. Very educated, very experienced technicians, very smart, intelligent people. And I was breaking my head about it. So what did I do? Excuse me. I took a look at the waveform even further. This is what I saw here. I wanted to compare idle versus cranking. So the top one is cranking, right? We have a hump way past the 360-degree mark. Let me zoom in for you guys. Some of you may be watching on the phone. You may not be able to see this very well, so I might as well zoom it in for you guys. So the 360-degree mark is right here. I hope you can see the mouse. And the hump is right after. This is cranking. Once again, this is cranking. This is a little further from cranking. It is not cranking. It is slightly running. It is just caught on, started running. and you can see that the hump has advanced a bit, right? There are other things that I've noticed with this waveform that I will go ahead and show you guys. And this basically, this picture right here doesn't really show it, so I went ahead and went a little further. I overlaid them, and this is me at this point just like looking at everything, just maybe I'll find something. So here is those waveforms overlaid. Now, mind you, we are using in this overlay, we are using top dead center of in cylinder as my point of reference. That's just something to keep in mind. It doesn't necessarily mean, as I've proven in another video, the one that's how to acquire and how to use piston charts. In that one, there's proof that in cylinder top dead center peak compression isn't necessarily true top dead center. So that's something just to keep in mind here. Now, is it advancing or is it not? According to this waveform, it is. But there's something that kind of stands out to me. I have my doubts, and I'm every day I not every day, but every now and then I take a look at these waveforms and I think to myself, like, what's really happening here? But for now, we're going to keep it simple and continue on our analysis. Let me go ahead and move on to the next slide, I guess you could call it. Here we have one on top of the other, the same waveform. This is the very same waveform, but with some arrows pointing out the marks. Again, we are using top dead center of the in-cylinder compression as a point of reference for top dead center, to align these. And as you can see, the red arrow, which is the rising edge of the cam waveform, aligns with the top. And the same thing goes for the blue. I've put rulers to show this. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could see that it is that case. If I put this at the edge, you could pretty much see that they're very close, right? If you look at the left edge. But anyway, and at the end of the 720-degree cycle, you can see that they match again in their phasing. So if you look at the right edge of the screen, you can see that they are very close to one another, right? But if you look at the center, the 360-degree mark on this, the top is cranking, the bottom is slightly running. You can see that all the timing marks advance. That's very peculiar. Like I said, I can't put my finger on it 100%, but I'm kind of leaning towards the theory that I'm using the incorrect reference to align these waveforms, which is the in-cylinder top dead center. Peak compression. So that could necessarily, that might be skewing my process here, but I saw it in those days. I didn't think about those things, that possibility in those days. I was strictly seeing a shift, and I immediately jumped at it and I said, there's some kind of slack here. There's got to be some kind of slack here. So what I found was, let me go ahead and show you guys. Pull up this waveform if it'll open. Not a waveform, it's actually a picture of the chain assembly, basically the timing chain assembly. Adrian, earlier I said that, hold on, let me show you. Adrian Lowe's, is the crank pulley moving? I confirmed multiple times that the timing mark being in its place aligns with the top dead center of number one's piston. So there's no shift there. 100% there is no shift there. Just so you know, just so that there's no confusion about that whatsoever. What I did find, since I was suspecting some kind of slack due to that waveform and that the shifting of the signals. Even though the crank signal was shifting as well, I still thought there had to be some kind of slack. So let me go ahead and pull this up for you guys. This is this is like everything you need to look at in order to put this thing in time. I won't go through each and every single one just yet. I just want to show what we found earlier. We found slack in this chain, in the upper chain. Even though all these components were OEM, that tensioner was totally loose. Now, in the previous presentation, somebody had asked me if this was a hydraulic tensioner, and I had said no. That was my mistake. It is a hydraulic tensioner, but the amount of tension that tensioner had to begin with was pretty brutal. It was a lot of pressure. Now, we did rectify. We changed out that tensioner, and the slack was gone, and the end result was basically the same. There was no change. That was a dead end. Now, I'm talking about concerning the shifting. Those waveforms where at cranking it is at one position at 360 degrees, and then running it is another. That's what I'm talking about. Let me go ahead and go back to the waveform where I was at before. That's the very last picture in my slide, so I had to go way back. Let me just make sure we're on the right waveform, and then we'll continue on. Now, considering that I had put this back together and redid my testing, and there was no luck, I really started to consider my career. I started wondering what I was doing. You know, I'm doing the scoping, I'm checking the correlation, I'm going in cylinder, I'm even putting the timing tools, and I'm checking everything, and I just it will not give me a break. So in comes in Christopher Williams. Some of you may be familiar with him in the Facebook group. He is not in the USA. I believe he's I'd be lying if I said it. He is not in the USA. That's one thing that's for sure. But he did notice something. He analyzed these waveforms, and he noticed something. Uncle Marks, does this engine have variable valve timing? Yes, it does. I mentioned that earlier. There are phasers that are actuated, and yes, it is a PVT engine, both intake and exhaust, so keep that in mind. Timing chain tensioner. Yeah, we replaced that, and yeah, no dice. Just so you know. Now let's go to the next waveform. This was noted by Christopher Williams from the Facebook groups. He noticed that within the first 3 seconds, I would say, from the time that it cranked to where he found this anomaly, this would happen repeatedly. If you notice, you'll see that you have two big, I guess you could say, teeth, two small teeth, right? Two big teeth, two small teeth, one big tooth, one small tooth, and some space there, and then back to the two small teeth and two big teeth. He noticed a dropout in the signal. And I was pretty surprised. I was thinking, all right, we found it. This is it. If you guys remember the picture of the phasers that I took earlier, you could see that there's two big teeth, two small teeth. And that should not be happening. So what I did was, and I do not have, the waveform, but unfortunately, but what we did was check the 5-volt reference and the ground while the anomaly happened, and it did consistently. It would give us this right here every single time, from cranking to running, or at around 3 seconds in, it would do that same anomaly every single time. So having ruled out a 5-volt reference issue and a ground issue, I went ahead and replaced the sensor, and the anomaly went away. The anomaly never returned, and I could show you here from the time that it's cranking to about 3 seconds in, that anomaly never happens again. And I tested this over and over again. I'd say maybe over 5 times, just to make sure, and cold and hot and everything, just to make sure that this wasn't happening anymore. And the codes came back. We cleared the codes. Codes came back. Same symptoms, same everything. And yeah, that's where I was. I was having a hard time. I'm not even gonna lie. This was what I would call my worst diag, because we find something, we rectify it, nothing. So it's ridiculous. It's crazy. Hey, let's see. Missing 2 for cop moves. I'm not sure what you mean there. Broken VAG style ripple mounting for crank gear allowing movement. This was a Woodruff key. This is not a ripple style like you normally see in VAGs, like in the 2-liter or whatnot, different engines. It is not. Oh, okay, I see your comment there, CKP. No, there was no missing 2. It was the sensor, and that was proven. At this point, I was reaching out to just about anybody, and I was being referred to, the next level person, right? There's always that one guy, that everyone goes to, where, you see a problem and it's very common, or it might not even be common, but they're really good at diagnostics. Some of you might, for you, it may be Paul Danner, and rightfully so. For some others, it might be Keith DeFazio. I mean, like he's very great at diagnostics. Sometimes I reach out to Chris Martino himself, or Keith Perkins, the Train by Tech guys, Tommy Oliva. I mean, I've just about reached out to almost all of them. Hans Jorgensen from Train by Tech, who was very instrumental in helping me out with this as well. So thanks to all of you guys for this. But at this point, we were pondering all of our possibilities. And he mentioned this infamous oil pump bolt. And I'll go ahead and put that on the screen for you guys. This is the exact engine. And you can see right here, this bolt comes loose. This oil pump acts as a jack shaft between the cams and the crank. This is a crank right here. Obviously, the cam's up here. And there is a gear reduction. There's a difference. It's not a 1-to-1 gear ratio, but it acts as a jack shaft basically between the crank and the cams. I guess that might be the right word for it, jack shaft. I could be wrong, but I had my doubts. I'm not gonna lie. I told them I had my doubts. Wouldn't that cause other issues as well, and not just a kind of like a shift in the 360-degree mark? I would think maybe something else would happen if that came loose, or maybe not. But I had my doubts at the time nonetheless, and I kind of wish I would have listened. But that wasn't the case. That was not the issue here. We'll go on to the next picture so you guys can see where we kept going. We came to a point actually where we didn't have enough evidence to justify the removal of the engine. Plainly said, we just didn't. We after checking all these things, we just didn't have the proof to justify it. As much as I wanted to take that engine out. I told the shop owner, there's nothing else. There's nothing else we could do. I'm sorry, but I don't see it. I do not see it. And the client sat on this for like maybe 3 months, at least a month, but I believe it was 3 months. She sat on it and she said, we're just gonna let it sit. And Bill, welcome aboard. He has a pretty good question there. We're gonna get to that. The high oil pressure comes into play here. That's for sure. But continuing on the timeline, the client said, we're just gonna let it sit, and we parked it outside, and we still couldn't get a known good waveform, unfortunately, and we just I really wanted an in-cylinder plus the correlation waveform. Hans Jorgensen from Trained by Tex, he was able to provide me with all of the mechanical stuff, like the pictures of the plate on it and all the positions of everything, and show that a known good in that sense. But I don't remember if he got me. I believe he might have gotten me an in-cylinder, but I was already suspecting a timing issue according to the in-cylinder, but I couldn't reason how the timing tools could go into place yet it'd be out of time. So eventually the client gave us the green light. She said, all right, let's remove the engine and see what we find. And we did just that. And I will show you before it was fixed what we found. Let me put this on the screen here. This is showing service info on the left. It's showing a shaven tooth on the crank on the rear, and it is showing, this is the oil pump right here. It is showing an oil pump timing mark right here. So this is actually the oil pump up here. Let me see if you guys can take a better look at this, just so that anybody who's watching on a smaller screen can see. We've got the oil pump on time here. And to remove all doubt, we have the shaven tooth and the pulley, the front pulley, lined up as well. So there was no shift there at all. After all this testing and after everything, this was once the engine was out. This is the shaven tooth lining up with the mating surfaces of the crank case, according to service info. And every time we put the oil pump in time, we'd get this. Up top is service info, right? We've got the two big teeth on the left at about the 2 o'clock position and at about the 4 or 5 o'clock position. We'd get this over here on the opposite sides. The cams would be 180 degrees out of phase. Every time, no matter how many times we rotated this engine, this crank, every time we put that oil pump in time, we would have the cams 180 degrees off. So the oil pump was out of time on this one. That's right. The oil pump was out of time. Out of all the things you could think of. Doesn't this sound kind of familiar? Those of you who saw my Range Rover video, and you could see a ridiculously sky-high fuel pressure, and it would cause, it was the cam, the fuel pump cam, that was out of time, and it was sky high. Here we have kind of the same issue. We have an oil pump that's out of time, and it is at, 4 bar at idle, when the specs call for a 1.7 bar at 1500 RPM. It is excessive oil pressure, which didn't mean much to me at the time. We learn every day, right? So at that time, I thought, it has great oil pressure. It's too good. I didn't think much of it, but come to realize that was an issue. Excessive oil pressure is the issue here. And I will go ahead and show this quick video showing everything in time after it's fixed, just to confirm. Right? Let's see. Yep. Mike M. Oil pressure was making time off. After, I didn't save the picture or anything, but afterwards, at idle, it did have somewhat of an actuation. There was a VVT actuation. And those waveforms where you see that shift, I have a hard time differentiating whether that's an issue with the improper reference, using the in-cylinder as a reference, or if it's the solenoid kicking on with way too high pressure. Because it has one amount of pressure cranking, and it has one timing cranking, and then it has another running, and these are brand new solenoids. And even if you disconnected them, there was an issue with timing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yep, didn't think where you were going. Oil pump out of time. That's correct. I will go ahead and show this video super quick just to show. It is a little fast forwarded because of the way, you know, it was pretty long. So I just decided, let me speed this up a little bit. It did not come from the factory 180 degrees out. That is not how it should be. The history on this vehicle was that the guide was broken and the phasers were stuck, and a technician had taken off the top cover, put everything in time except the oil pump, slapped on those upper timing components, put it all back together, and called it a day. That's the real issue here. It's a man-made issue. It's that one little detail of getting everything in time except for the oil pump. If someone would have taken out, if he would have taken out that engine and taken off all the covers and done the whole set, which is usually what you do, this would have never happened, unfortunately. Why was the oil pump out of time? Yes, I just answered that question in the very beginning of the video. I do apologize. I did mention all of this stuff, but I went ahead and repeated it for you before I saw this question, so no harm done. Let's go ahead and show this video real quick. All right, real quick. After adjusting the timing, there's our pulley, there's our front plate, there's our front cams, fuel pump, and there's, so if you can see this, there's the arrow, and if we're to count, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then that other arrow right there. And then coming down to our crankshaft, we can see the shaven tooth lined up with the crankcase as specs call for. And then right there is our timing. Let me see if I can focus you guys in there. And it just won't focus. Maybe too much lighting. What we saw before was that the oil pump was off time, so putting it back together and see what happens. The only way this really matters is if the oil pump timing is that critical, which I'm starting to believe it is. Without having so much experience with these, I wouldn't be able to say for sure a oil pump timing was super critical, but it's got a timing mark for a reason. So even though it's a jack, it acts as a jack shaft between the cams and the crank. It is there. It has a timing mark for a reason. So we'll take it from there. So there you have it. That is the end result. Taking out the engine, putting it all back together, and I finally got a known good, which I was able to share. This is the known good waveform here. I'll go ahead and put that for you guys. Anybody wants to take a screenshot, if you are not in the Facebook groups, now's your chance. Go ahead and do it. I will zoom it in a little more for you if you need it. And there it is. I mean, what more can be said here? I believe I covered all bases. I usually forget stuff, but I don't think I did this time. Anywho, I do have before and after. Let me go ahead and show you guys. It's really hard to see because the overlay, I guess I didn't really think of the opacity of the bad one, but I'll go ahead and show you guys the waveform anyway. Overlaid, you could see I am still using the same reference, by the way, of the in cylinders. We see the hump over here, right? We see the hump on the bad one. Hopefully you guys can see it because it is very translucent, I guess you could call it. Or a little bit transparent. But if you notice, the bad waveform actually has higher compression. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I actually have it over here. There is a 15 psi difference between the bad one and the good one. So if those of you who are not using these techniques, keep in mind that you put a compression gauge in there and you have great compression, doesn't mean anything anymore. An advanced intake valve timing will increase your compression because you have a longer stroke, you have a longer intake stroke. So it doesn't necessarily make a good representation of the health of that engine. And I see too many people do it, unfortunately, but the waveforms don't lie. You can see, actually, let me go back to this waveform here. You can see that on the bad one, the yellow one, that intake valve is more or less, hard to say, but more or less closing right here. Let's see if you guys can see that. That's as close as I can get. It is more or less closing right here. And over here, you can see a bit of a rise a little bit after. So on the good one, on the blue one. It is hard to say definitively because there's variables here at play, but I believe that the bad one had an advanced intake in these waveforms. So just so you guys know, if you're not using in-cylinder stuff, I really hope you do start. And that concludes this case study. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you took away something from it. Don't forget to hit that like button. And I think we will move on to any questions you may have, whether it's related to the case study or whether it is not. That's totally fine. I'm open game. Anything you guys want to ask, it is all good. This was a lot of fun, actually, being able to share this. I've been meaning to share this on this channel for quite some time, but I never put it all together and make it. I never was able to make it digestible until recently. So I went ahead and did just that. Sorry. Didn't catch the make and model. This is a 2007 Audi Q7 3.6 liter BHK engine, just so you know. It is a BHK engine. Thank you, George. Thank you for watching. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all taking the time. I hope this was something that will stay with you. Never assume that the job was complete. And unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, like it kind of sucks that we have that variable. We have man-made issues, and it can happen to anybody. You could be a great tech, and you can overlook something. It is that easy. It happens to me all the time. I won't even lie to you. It happens to me all the time. It is that easy to do, and it's just those tiny details. Everything counts, you know. Thanks, Frank. Thanks for taking the time, bud. I learned a lot on this one as well. Like I said, this was a very new experience for me. There was a lot to learn from me here in very little time, except for that moment where she kind of, sat on the job. So it was a lot to learn though for me as well. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see. Pressure overcame the solenoid. That could be right. That could be right. I will not discount that one bit. You may be correct, but at this point, I couldn't confirm that. Ellie Evans, what's your best software for diagnosing CAN bus? The picoscope. I usually will scope something. For diagnosing CAN bus, it depends on the issue. Is there communication with the rest of the vehicle? Is it a one module that you're not communicating with? Is it an intermittent issue? Is it that the vehicle just wigs out on you? Does the key not come out of the vehicle? Is it a fault tolerant vehicle? There's so many variables that I couldn't say that there's one software that'll get it all done for you. Is there water intrusion? It's all kinds of stuff. And a lot of people will swear by using a multimeter alone. There's a lot of talented techs that can actually do it, and that's great. But that's not one of my strong spots. So I use a scope. I want to visualize it. I want to see, where is it? Is it the 1.5 to 2.5 and the 2.5 to 3.5 volts as it should be, or is it skewed? Is it a bad message? Maybe you could put serial decoding, and although you can't decode it, you can see if it's a bad message. The picoscope allows for that kind of stuff. I've never made a video using serial decoding. I did it in the Facebook groups, but not really in action. I have used it before to diagnose bad messages, but I seldom do it because we really don't have that proprietary information, which would be awesome. It would be awesome to have that kind of stuff. Bill, so what's up, Mario? Hey, I bit the bullet for the MS919. I believe you're talking about the Autel. I don't remember all of the models, by their model numbers. Except a few of them. I'm not too familiar with the MS919, to be honest with you. But hey, any scanner is better than no scanner, honestly. So more power to you. Let me know how it goes with it, and keep me updated, hopefully. Ever reflash Volkswagen? Ever use Otis? Yes, I use Otis every now and then. I've run SVMs using Otis. Basically, those of you who do not know what SVMs are, is where Otis will connect to the database, compare what's in the database with Audi or Volkswagen or whatever, namely Germany, and compare to what's in the vehicle. And if there's any discrepancy, it'll update accordingly and reflash or program or whatever you want. But sometimes if you're just replacing a PCM, it'll ask you you better not send that core out. Just keep the old PCM if it works. Maybe like it's a driver issue, like an ignition driver issue or something like that. But if it communicates, you will need to keep it in the vehicle, go through the process with Otis, and then disconnect the old one and put the new one in, and it'll flash that one code it into the vehicle or whatnot. So Joe Bush, oil pressure open to solenoid. It could be right. Like I said. Michael Johnson, can I ask you a question, Mario? 2006 Subaru AC compressor won't shut off. High pressure side goes off the scale, and the low side right down to 0 and into a vacuum. Fans in op. Sounds like you have a restriction or no airflow, but why wouldn't it shut off? There should be systems in place. I'm not familiar 100% with this particular system. It should have some kind of system in place to shut it off in the event that there's too much pressure on the high side or not enough pressure on the low side. So fans in op, yeah, that says it all right there. And does it work fine when you roll it down the street, when you go on the highway? Fans, I think you already diagnosed it. You already said it right there. It's fans inoperative. So you may need to get to that first before you do anything else. Cars exposed. Igor, what's up, man? I hope you're doing all right. Great to have you. It's been a while. Hi, Mario. Did the oil pressure match up to service info after the repair? Somebody asked me that question the last time I presented it, and to be honest with you, I was so sick with the vehicle that I just wanted it gone. I know it's so messed up to say it, but it's the truth. I got rid of it. I said, okay, I never want to see it again. It's fixed. It's gone. Out the door. Get out of here. But I did get known goods, which I was able to confirm afterwards with the timing. The issue was with timing, the oil pressure. Remember, in those days, I didn't think much of it at that time. I don't know if you caught where I said that before. I wasn't really thinking about it too much. I didn't pay too much mind to it until, after it was fixed. And then once it was fixed, I, said, okay, get out of here. It's the truth. I'm not even gonna lie here. Nan low down. I do not know what that means, Eli. Man, that's a headache. Mario, Jason. It was, man. It had me wondering what I was getting into. I really was thinking and I had just bought a Pico. I'm like, man, I just invested in all this stuff, and I'm not, I really was at this point where I was like, okay, if this is what it's like working on Europeans on my first real diagnosis on a European, then I just don't. It kind of intimidated me. That's one of the things that happens with European vehicles. It kind of intimidates you. You get your ass kicked once real good, and then you just say, okay, I'm just not going to do it anymore. And unfortunately, it happens to many. It happens to many of us. Um, can low down. Yes, it was a flood unit. Thanks. All right. No problem. Uh, Sorry, I don't have a software. I usually use a tool instead of a software, so to speak. Andy, hello, Mario. Why BMW ignition coil primary current waveform starts normal, but then next to it shows other waveforms that are different? I hope you understood. Um, you would have to be specific because I've scoped out those waveforms before, and it's never been an issue to me. To be honest with you, I've never seen that issue on, especially on the primary side of things. So let me if you could be a little more specific as to what you're seeing, I would be more than glad to help. Let me see. That's right, voltage drop. I'm not sure if you're speaking to me, Bill. Sorry. Okay, thank you. You are welcome, Michael Johnson. I didn't opt for the Ultra. I can understand that. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why someone might not want to go to the Ultra. Not only the price, but like, you know, you have everything in one, and if that J box goes down, your scope goes down too. So if it's all you have, it might not be something that works for you. But I've heard pretty good things about the Ultra. But I'm pretty happy with the IM608 that I have now. I'm not really I don't really have any plans to drop what I'm doing and grab the Ultra, to be honest with you. On that Subaru, the expansion valve may be stuck. Yeah, there's a restriction for sure on that one. But he has inoperative fans. Question is, you know, did you check to make sure everything runs? I mean, fans usually, you have to check that first. There's no reason why the fans shouldn't run if your compressor's running. Usually, most strategies on most cars, if the compressor's running, that fan is going to run too. Only on some have I seen that the fan take a little while. It waits for the high pressure to come up a little bit before it kicks on, but it usually does. CO, great case study. Mario, where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? I have not gotten that far. I have not thought that much about it, to be honest with you. A lot of people tell me I should do my own thing, but I'm pretty happy where I'm at. So I really don't know. I don't know where I see myself in 5 or 10 years. If 5 to 10 years ago, I was just starting in this industry, and it's been good to me. So I just think it'll keep getting better. It'll get a little easier, at least, that's for sure. You know, experience is everything. But I just think it'll be a little easier to fix these cars, or maybe not. I mean, maybe 5 or 10 years, what I'm learning is not going to be able to cope with what's coming out. You know, there's a lot of different systems coming out too. So hope that answers your question. Should be here tomorrow, Bill. Nice, man. Let us know how it goes. Let us know how it goes. Dave, do you get any diesels in your new place? Yes, we do. I'm not crazy about diesels. I know that's probably working against me, but I'm not really crazy about them at all. I'm just not a fan of them. I don't see myself, you know, learning all that much about diesels, but a lot of BMWs are diesels as well. There's a lot of diesels everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. And with the way these gasoline, these, you know, regular cars are working, they are slowly putting more and more diesel-like systems in them. You know, like the high pressure fuel systems and whatnot, and things of that nature. But eventually, I heard, you know, I think Mazda's coming out with the homogeneous something. It basically, you know, injects fuel at a pressure so high that the compression alone is enough to ignite it. And much like a diesel, you know, you need glow plugs just for when it's cold. But once that fuel and that combustion chamber, all that stuff heats up to a certain temperature and with the right pressures, it self ignites. But who knows? Maybe I won't have a choice but to get into diesels. Who knows? Who knows? Cars exposed. That's cool. No worries. I know the feeling, but nice to see you, man. Great stream. Thanks for watching, bud. Um, it was great to share. I've been dying to share it actually. So that's why I kind of just had to do it right after I presented it last time on the other channel. For those of you who want it in Spanish, lo que lo quieren en español, check out AutoTech video. I did it all in Spanish. I thought it would be a bilingual, but it ended up being a Spanish only thing. So I do apologize for those of you who saw that it was supposed to be a bilingual and it wasn't. Lo que lo quieren ver, vaya al canal AutoTech video. Ahí está todo este caso en español. Excuse me. Alan, I think the Subaru has two issues: fan and plug-up system. Definitely a possibility. Wow, I'm catching up to these. I'm catching up to these comments. What's going on, guys? You guys are just like hanging out, listening. We have 100 people in the chat at the moment. Appreciate all of you tuning in. Feel free to say anything you want. You don't necessarily have to ask a question or anything. Maybe what are you working on? Have you gotten your ass kicked this week? I know I have, but anything you want to share, feel free to. I've got some time, so no worries there. Adrian, good work. Thanks. I once had a tech that caused me a headache. Put crank pulley on a 2-liter with crank not at top DC, scope it. Found it. He showed me all the marks lined up, but etc. But scoping it showed it wasn't right. My goodness, that was like a little weird to read. I don't know if it was me or you, man. But yeah, man, the scope doesn't lie. That's why I love it. And that's why it kind of sucks so bad when using the scope didn't really get me to the definitive point where I needed to be, right? But it seems like when it comes to timing and certain vehicles, like with the Range Rover and the fuel pump timing issue, there's only so far you could go with a scope. I actually didn't even use a scope for that vehicle, and in this vehicle with the oil pump, the scope only came so far, and it just it wasn't enough at that point. If I had the experience at that point, if I wasn't brand new at European vehicles and I had seen that oil pressure, if I had the experience and seen more of this stuff before, seeing the oil pressure, an oil pressure gauge alone would have given me much more information than any of all those other tests. Unfortunately, except the in-cylinder, and the in-cylinder proved that there was a timing issue. But an in-cylinder and an oil pressure gauge might have gotten me where I needed to go if I had the experience. And now that you guys have seen this video, those of you who have never dealt with this, it may come to mind one day and may help you out and save you from doing the same thing I did, which is beating myself up thinking whether I should be a mechanic or not, continue being a mechanic or not, really. So it's funny, but it's true. Like I said, at that point, having so much respect for the scope, and then kind of being let down in the sense that the scope wasn't giving me what I needed, which was really a mixture of the lack of experience and the scope issue. It kind of put me in a place where I was thinking, oh my goodness, man, what am I doing? Do I want to do this? And it sucks. It sucks. I make it, not for nothing, but I make it my mission, I guess you could say, when I share anything, when I help others or put these videos out, I kind of make it my mission to ease the burden on those who are new at this, and to remind others that they're not alone. Because I remember the first time I went to training. I remember when Train by Techs took me out and put me in Super Saturday, and it felt like, wow, they pulled me out of my bubble. And that's what I felt like. I was in my own little bubble. And until I realized that there's a lot more techs, a lot more educated technicians out there who are more than willing to share and don't necessarily see you as like the competition, like so many other techs do. and they want to lift the industry up as a whole, I remember all that, and for me, I don't ever want to forget that, and if I could do that to somebody else, I will. So I do that when I can by sharing videos, but I also want to do that in other ways as well. I just have to work on that as well. But the goal for me is to ease the burden on the rest, because I know that starting fresh, like with your tech, he had maybe he was lack of experience or whatnot, but there's a lot to learn in this industry. There's so many different systems in the car. It's not just the engine. Like there's so many things to learn, and it almost feels like an uphill battle. It feels like too much to learn, right? So if I can help in any way, I'll do that. Wow, I kind of went I fell behind. That comment was made 7 minutes ago. Adrian, I'm sorry for being so late in answering, but I'm going down the list here. So just so you guys know, I'm going down the list. I hope to answer all the questions, but I do have a time restraint. I'm not going to say what time it is yet, but for now, we'll keep it rolling. Homie Hector, thanks for swinging by, bro. What's up, big dog? Why did you choose to go work at a shop with primarily European vehicles? Excuse me. There's a lot of reasons, and one of them was there was a technician. I totally forgot who it was. There was this video that I saw that they said if you really want to make it in this industry and get ahead, work on European vehicles. And as much as I was reluctant to, I knew that European vehicles. There's something to be said about the majority of people saying, I hate Euros. What if you're the guy that, is good at Euros and everyone hates to work on them? That's a pretty good way to get the market, I guess you could say. It's a pretty good way to increase your value. It's not necessary for me. I don't think that sharing what I do, obviously I don't share every single thing, but the little that I do share, I don't think that doing that is going to devalue me or my worth or whatnot. What I think will increase my value is doing the stuff that everybody hates to do. Don't get me wrong, every now and then I just want to throw a wrench, but for the most part, once you get past those certain issues with European cars, once you learn their ways, I guess you could say, they become a lot easier. And I figured, why fight it? Let's embrace it. I'm gonna go head on with these Euro vehicles. If I get my ass kicked, it'll be something to learn. Now, of course, you have to be in a shop that's conducive to that. If you, not for nothing, but pay structure kind of comes into play here. If you're strictly commissioned, you may not have the luxury of taking the time to learn these systems or whatnot. Sometimes you have to hit the ground running and just learn it as you go. But shops that are conducive to letting you, giving you the time and the resources, the tools, the training to learn these things, that's really where it's more important than anything else. It's not just a driven tech that wants to learn these things, that wants to embrace it. It's really a lot of it is the shop that will allow you to embrace these things and get your ass kicked every now and then, get it wrong every now and then, and that's what I find is what I'm able to do in this shop. I'm able to. I have a lot more experience now than I did a year ago, but every now and then I get it wrong. But it's an environment in which it's conducive to getting ahead with these vehicles and making progress with these vehicles. It's not all about changing the part and then on to the next one. It's about learning the system and being able to fix these cars more efficiently, being correct more often, better probability and whatnot. So I hope that answers your question. You probably weren't bargaining for that much. But Jason, I'm also wondering, I'm thinking of doing the same thing. If you have a good foundation, go for it. Jason, you're, I mean, I know you more than others might in this audience, but I think you'll be all right, man. I think you'll be all right. You you just got to go for it. And that's one of the things that happened to me when I started getting into the Euro stuff. Like for a while, I was just like, okay, let me not get into the Euro stuff. And then when I started seeing, these are nicer cars. I'm sorry, but they're nicer cars. And then, the market is more, I guess you could say, primed to spend on these vehicles. You're doing a tune-up on most European vehicles is not going to cost the same as it would on a Honda Civic. It's just not. So I think you will increase your value by doing the stuff that intimidates others, but also you will increase your value in the market that you're entering, the kind of customers that you are dealing with. And now, of course, every market is different, but most of the time, European vehicles are not the primary drive. They're not the everyday drive vehicles. Most of the time, from what I see in this shop at least, these vehicles are, the second or third vehicles. They're not necessarily the I need it now car. They come in at 4 o'clock for an oil change. They need it at 4:30. It's usually, go ahead, do your thing. Let me know when it's done. I'll just use my other car. So there's different things that will come into play here when you do make that move, Jason. Just so you know. I mean, you probably already know this anyway, but that's my take on it, and I'm glad you asked. Bill, it's always great to watch. Thanks, Bill, man. I appreciate you. German prognostics. Mario, just asking, do you have any ASE? Just wanted to know if that matters. I do. I have my master techs, at 1 through 8, and then my L1 as well. So the advanced engine performance. And does it matter? It has weight. I don't think it's totally useless. I mean, I think it's a great thing. I wouldn't have taken the test and tried strive to become a master technician if I didn't think they were worth it. That's kind of I don't know. I guess I do see some people that they become master techs and then they say, oh, it was easy, or they say it doesn't even matter. That doesn't make any sense to me because you're the one that went to go ahead and take the test. You're the one that went through the trouble. So why do that and then kind of like step on it? It doesn't make any sense to me. But it does matter in my eyes. I believe it provides a fundamental competence, and some kind of a way to show that you care, a way to show that you want to become that. For me, if I'm honest, I totally thought that becoming a master tech was the thing, man. I wanted to become a master technician. That to me was like, you got to do it. You have to do it, and anything to increase your value, to increase your worth. In my eyes, it works. It helps. People ask the question, you can answer, yeah, I'm a master technician. Now, it all depends. It's all what you make of it. Some people might think that because you're the master technician, you're expected to know it all. And I think that's just a little unrealistic. You are expected to know some stuff, but to know it all, no, I don't think so. I passed the transmission test, but it doesn't mean that I work on transmission 24/7. And I'd rather give it to a guy who's done it for 30 years and can guarantee his work. And it is what you make of it. That's all I can say. For me, it's worth it. It matters. And In certain shops, if you didn't have your master technician status, you weren't going into that shop. Period. So I think everything that I've done has led to where I'm at now, and ASC is a part of that. So I won't discount that at all. Now, if anybody knows what's going on with the renewals, I mean, with this whole COVID thing, I mean, I know they have an online version and all, but I need to renew my stuff, and I have not gotten a reminder, which is kind of weird. I always do. But if anybody has any word on that, that'd be great. 5477, Harry, 2007 Dodge Caliber 2.0 alternator quits charging randomly, restarts it, and it works again. New alternator and shaped ECMs and changed ECMs, still same issue. Oh, do you have any codes? Is your battery light on? Is it strategy? I mean, certain vehicles, they are smart charging systems, and if it doesn't need to charge, it won't charge. So I need to know what's going. I need more details on that. Is it your battery dying? Are your lights getting dim? When you turn on your headlights, does it actually start charging? It's kind of hard to say, but yeah, I need more info on that one. But Andy, Mario, this is my second question. I was working on Fiat Punto. When you get it rapid rev, ignition coil lose control, can this be bad PCM? You lose control? What upon? Man, that's a very vague. I'm sorry, a very vague description. I couldn't say it. When you rev it up, the ignition coil. What, one ignition coil or all of them? Or, I mean, is this a one coil with a two control wires in, like a PT Cruiser? Like it's 4-cylinder, but two is control. Like one control wire controls two at a time, or are they coil on the coil on plug systems? Are they independent from each other? I need a little more details on that one, but I will always need more details. You can never have enough. So that's one of the things that I'm big on. As much as I like to help, I need all the details I can get. Look at this case study. I mean, I put all the details I could possibly put, but in the end of the day, it's it takes that one little detail to get it fixed. So you can never give too many details when asking for help, in my opinion. The practical mechanic, Chad. Am I late? You're not late, man. You're just in time. I already did the case study, but that's the beauty of YouTube, and it'll stay for you. No worries there, bud. Welcome. Changes ECM. Yeah, man. That sucks to say. I believe those have a sensing wire. I need more details on that. Like I said, I need codes. I would have to look up a diagram, check the strategy, if it's a smart charging system and whatnot. So November 248, highest end car that you've worked on there. Oh, Ferrari. Or an Aston Martin. There was this really old Aston Martin, DRB3. No, not the RB3. I'm thinking of it. It's I forgot the name of it, but I think it was upwards of 150 grand. I don't know if the Ferrari was more. I think that's it. I think it was a Ferrari. I couldn't even tell you the model. It's actually this one here. I took a picture of it, and it is on my background. Let me put it over here. This was the very first car I worked on in this shop. If anybody could tell me what model that is, because I totally forgot. I have no idea what model that is. That would be great. But yeah, that's the one I worked on. All right. So let me go on down the list. Rob, car stuff. Are you the most knowledgeable in the shop? Not even close. The shop owner is extremely knowledgeable. Um, the excuse me, the other technician, the Mercedes technician, he is great at what he does. I do not think I'm the most knowledgeable in the shop at all, to be honest with you. We have other technicians are. It's kind of crazy how this shop is set up. It's everybody specializes in a way. I try to do just about everything, but the Mercedes stuff goes to the Mercedes guy. Um, we've got a Frank that works on a lot of classics and stuff. We have Carl that does like convertible tops and anything headliner stuff, anything interior, all that stuff. Kind of like pimp my rides. It's crazy. Yeah, he does all that stuff. Well, me, I try to do a little bit of everything, but usually diagnostics. But the shop owner does it all. I mean, you name it, he does it all. Um, he's been in business here almost as long as I've been alive. He's been in business here 27 years, I believe, or 28. And yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Andy, uh, Mario, this is my second question. I was working. Oh, I believe you posted that twice. Francisco, thank you, man. I appreciate that, bro. Um, I can't start all over again, unfortunately. I'm sorry, man. You're just gonna have to go back. Still learning. 2000 Nissan Frontier. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen one of those in a long time. 3.3 liter. Injector 1 and 3 have different pulse, slower than the rest at the injector and the ECU. I tested them with a test light. What do you think the problem? All right, so how do you know that there's a different pulse? Are you scoping them or you are just testing them with a test light or a noid light? I mean, that's totally subjective there. You have to have a way to definitively know whether those pulses are slower than the rest. And the only way you can really do that is a scope. What other symptoms do you have? Do you have misfires on there? Do you like what's going on with that? I don't know that one could say that it's a different pulse. Uh, and are you talking about a longer a pulse length, as in like the saturation, or are you talking about RPM? You know, how frequently, like the hertz. Is it a slower hertz, a slower frequency there? Please let me know. Thumb up, peeps. Thanks, Jason. Thanks for looking out. I appreciate you, bud. Yes, hit that thumbs up. Don't forget, hit that subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And don't forget to hit that notifier so you can know when I'm coming out with new videos. Homie Hector, what's your beer of choice? Yingling, to be honest with you, is Yingling. But I don't know. I've been kind of going between different beers, but it's always been Yingling as far as I can remember. But I don't mind like Dos Equis Amber or Modelo. Or that those kind of beers, you know. I don't mind them. They're pretty good. Miguel, Francisco, bro. Nick, I personally think it's great that you're working in a shop where a lot of European vehicles are coming in. I do too. It's amazing. I've only touched like 2 Toyotas while I've been here, and like 1 or 2 Hondas. Plenty of techs working on everything else and crying and kicking about European. It's true. It's true. But I can't control the actions of others. But I could say that it's once you get kind of the hang of it, it becomes easier. Like with anything, obviously. But there's these little details that you gotta know. Yeah, but other than that, it's not as bad as one thinks. You know, the grass is greener. Francisco and Miguel. I know I've been lost, brother. Seriously, man. Francisco's local to me. Good dude. I can't wait till training comes up again. I'm bummed out that Super Saturday was canceled and also Daytona's canceled for November. Oh man, that sucks. But hopefully, hopefully we get some good training soon. Richard Cranium, you didn't miss it, man. You're all right. Alan, let me see. Does the Audi use the pin that goes in the crank to lock in number one top dead center? Have to remove plug to insert. Um, no, it's a shaven tooth on that one. On oh well, Audis. That was yeah, that on that Audi it was a shaven tooth. There's no pin that I know of that locks number one. Um, Usually the ones that are uh, pins that lock into number ones are like the Ford styles and the yeah, the Ford style engines that have the diamond encrusted washers in order to mate the pulley, the front pulley, to the crankshaft, and it keeps the crankshaft at top dead center, and you can tighten down that pulley, and it'll be in time. But I haven't seen others do that. Those are the ones that you take off a little plug, put in that little lock tool, rotate the crank until it stops rotating because it's touching that lock pin, I guess you could call it. But no, that Audi did not have that as part of the tools. It is the shaven tooth, as I mentioned earlier. Nick, it's great because there. Oh, wait, yeah, it's great because there are not many working on Euro, and all the technology that comes in Euro eventually end up in the rest of the cars anyway. You'll always have to work with Euro. That is exactly right. You cannot be more correct, and that is exactly something that I've noticed when working on European vehicles. It's that if you and you can disagree with me, but if you only work on everything but Europeans, you're going to learn the cutting edge late because it's going to show up eventually, but maybe years later. So you are going to put yourself behind, in my opinion. I think Europeans, for some reason, European vehicles just kind of like try to stay ahead of the game. Um, Sometimes you think, you look at something that they do and you think, what were they thinking? But for the most part, they tend to be a bit ahead of the curve. And you are doing yourself a disservice by avoiding working on European vehicles, honestly. That's just my opinion. Up to you. What would you like to do? You are going to have to decide. But I I suggest you embrace it if you don't already. Excuse me. The practical mechanic. At Still Learning, check for debris in the distributor. Those have an optical pickup in the distributor, and the optical slot can get filled with metal when the distributor bearing fails. My goodness, I have not seen a distributor in a while. So, yeah. And Chad knows what he's talking about. He's really good. So, um, Still Learning, I would listen to him because he's a damn good tech. you know, Francisco, speaking to Miguel, Dave, Osman. I love your channel, Mario. Your ability to explain intricate details allows us all to learn. Allows all of us to learn. Sorry, I butchered that one. Plus, you seem like a great guy. Thank you. I appreciate that, but I hope it is easily digestible. I do not want to try to explain something in a way that will kind of like make it seem as if uh, to like explain it in a way that's impossible for someone to understand. It just doesn't make any sense. It's kind of counterproductive, and I think it makes the person who's doing the explaining look worse. It doesn't make any sense for me to go through let's say an ignition waveform and then just give all these technical terms and not explain anything and just make it seem like I know it all. I don't never want to come across that way. So I appreciate the kind regards. Justin Hayward, what's good, Mario? Everything so far. Got a baby coming. It's 23 days away for my second baby to come. It's crazy. Time flies. My other one's already turning 3 soon, and she is a handful, but she's a good little girl. But yeah, so far, all that stuff is good. November 6th to be exact. That's when my baby's due, so it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna be taking time off to do it, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. Frank John got a snap-on Modus. What's the best pressure sensor to go with it? I don't use snap-on at all, so I couldn't say. Maybe like a automotive test solution pressure sensor, or a PV350 from Fluke, but you would have to use the old one. You can't use the new ones because the new ones are not conducive to scope usage. I could show you, if you can send me an email, I will show you which one you need to look for, and that way you don't get the wrong one. You won't have a useless transducer. You need to look for something in there. If you can send me an email, I'll get you the details. I would have done it today, but I would have to dig it up. There are certain little things in the circuit board that you need to look for if you want to get a PV350 used that is actually usable in a scope, any scope. So keep that in mind, just so you know. Send me that email, Frank, and I'll get that right to you. German Vehicles customer waiting room has Starbucks coffee. I seen one in Melbourne, Florida, with bar stools so they can watch the mechanic work. That's funny because I'm like the exact opposite. And in my shop, I'm right now at the moment I'm by myself. I, every now and then I get a visitor from another tech. Maybe they'll come over here and now and then, every now and then. But I have not had a customer look at me work since I've been here. So, yeah, it's a little different. WPS 500X will be most versatile and is what most techs use for compression waveforms at, Frank. That is correct. It is not cheap, but it is awesome. And it is what I call the golden standard. Just to put that out there. Let me take away my email. Roberto F. Kennedy. You always remember the kickings. Yes, those are the lessons you learn the best. It's when you really struggle with them. You'll never forget. It sucks, but that's part of the experience portion of it all. Of this career. There's no mechanic that doesn't get their ass kicked. That is just a lie. They say that they always get it right. It's just a lie. I'm sorry. Euro cars will humble you. I hated Volkswagen and BMW. Now I love them. Rather work on them than a Ford or Chevy. I'm with you, man. I'm kind of partial to them too now. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind working on the other cars, but it's I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but I can't say I'm like super excited when I see an old Chevy. It doesn't really I don't know. Part of what keeps me going is how can I say, the challenge, right? When you do diagnostics, you want to be challenged. And I'm not saying that Fords and Chevys and American cars don't do that, or Toyotas or Hondas or any of that. They will. But the most challenging ones are the Euros for some reason. And I feel like once you get a hang of those, the other ones are kind of not so bad, But your mileage may vary. George, Frank, use the snap-on pressure sensors work good. I know there are certain snap-on pressure sensors that will hit a brick wall if you go anywhere below atmospheric. So if you go into vacuum at all, it will not show up on the waveform. It'll cut it off. So take that with a grain of salt. You must know what you're getting before you do it, before you get it. So heavy Chevy, really, bro? Oh, he's talking to Miguel. That's for sure. Okay. Yeah. You guys have your own conversation going on right here. Phil, one of my very early on subscribers. Damn, got close with the hair clippers this time of the year. Yeah, I know, man. It's pretty close. I like it like that. I like it short. It's clean. Uh, it's very easy to take care of. Dave, 8 strings or 9? He's talking about a guitar. For those of you who don't know, I have an 8 string guitar. I love it. I don't feel the need to go to 9. At least not yet. I'm plenty fine with an 8 string. Miguel, 1 string. Dave, you have to be a guitarist to kind of know what this is. This is not a binary code thing. This is when you hit the thickest string at without pressing on any frets. Dong 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 dong. You know, ah. Why did you go there, Dave? That's the one, Chad. All right, you guys are responding to each other. Chad, I need to renew A1 to A9 as well. Is it A9? Is it 9 to get Master Mechanics? I know I didn't get maintenance. I didn't get one of them. I didn't get the maintenance one. I don't think you need it to become Master Tech before the end of the year. Yeah, I need to make a. I need to make sure I do that as well. They have an app for renewal apparently for ASE. I know that they have like a kind of a bit by bit renewal type thing where you keep answering the questions throughout the year or whatnot. But there's something about taking the test in person that I could just, get it all done in one shot. I don't know. I have to look into that again just to make sure things are worth doing with that. Check your My ASE. Yeah, I need to get in there. Samurai Pizza Cat. How steep was the learning curve going into Euro? Would you say you need OEM scanners to play? I would say so. Yes, there's a lot of things you can't do with an Autel, so to speak, or a Snap-on that you won't have a choice but to go OE. Not to say that OE is everything. There's a lot of times that OE fails you too. That video that I put out with the Audi, telling you to replace the intake manifold when it was just a, what was it? A little valve. It was a runner valve, an intake runner valve. So that was pretty funny. That was one among many. Like Otis, if you want to teach in a certain key on a vehicle, like let's say they changed an ECM. Apparently, you can't change two things at the same time in the immobilizer portion of an Audi. It has to be one or the other. It can't be a key and an ECM, or an ECM and the immobilizer or whatnot, or the immobilizer and a key. It has to be one or the other. So the other day I was trying to teach in a key or whatnot, and it wouldn't let me. So I had to use the IM608, the Autel, and it would do it. So they have their own limitations in certain ways, but they are absolutely necessary, in my opinion, to work with Euros and get the job done. Especially when it comes to, like, let's say Mercedes. On Sprinters, you can do SCN coding, but on certain Mercedes, I don't think you'll have another option but to whoops, I hit the mic. But to use Sentry in order to flash a module into the vehicle, right? So, but there are other ways around that. If the old module is still good, and it communicates, and the EEPROM data is still good, and all that stuff, you can clone it. You can clone that module and put it into the vehicle, and you'll be fine. So there's workarounds, but it's best to just do a little bit of everything. Have a little bit of everything. like with certain BMWs, you'll get certain diagrams that are just like a bit inaccurate, or working with all data, you may have a tougher time uh, navigating through the diagrams. And ISTA will just like you just click in, bam, bam, done. It's so easy. But yeah, the learning curve is pretty steep. Almost everything is a bit painful. Almost every lesson you learn is a bit painful. But then you start thinking about it, and you realize, man, I can understand why they did this. It was pretty smart, things like that. But it's like every other car. And I know people say, oh, it's just another car. But what I mean is the learning curve it comes with every car. It's inherent to every car. So I wouldn't put it, in other words, like, try to forget the badge, except for Volvo. Those things are those things are a whole another thing. They have their own behavior. But I guess it's usually the lack of experience with certain brands. That's what usually makes you think, I'd rather not touch them, or I don't want to deal with them. But once you get a little bit of experience in there, it becomes a whole lot easier. My ASC renewal app lets you take 5 or 6 questions for each category every month to stay current. I'd rather take them all at once. Me too, man. I'd rather just show up, take my test, and walk away, and it says pass, and I'm good. I don't have to, I don't know. There's something about that online thing. It kind of, for me, it kind of lowers the quality of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's something about like, oh, you just got to take a couple of questions every month and you'll be all right. And like, what do they do if you get them wrong? You retake them. It's the same questions. Now you get them right. I don't know. It's just something about it. Just no other. I've never seen another certification in other areas that will require you to take like a handful of questions to stay current on something. It's usually, like a bar exam. You take it all in one shot. You either pass or you didn't. Right. So I'm not saying that this is a bar exam, but this is the only standard that we have in this industry at the moment. So you gotta do with what you got. Brandon, how did you develop your diagnostic strategies for different cases? Basically, how did you develop your ability to be efficient? I'm not the most efficient. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but I try to use tools that are more conducive towards a broader scope, I guess you could say, right? Like, so what I mean is that instead of relying on certain tools that are very limited, you can only use this tool for this tool for that, this tool for this. I wanted tools that would do broader ranges of things. For me, the scope does that the most. And a pretty good scanner, a pretty good aftermarket scanner. I mean, I'm not knocking OEs, but my first grab is usually the Altel, and I'm not sponsored by Altel. I'm not, no. I have no affiliation with Altel, but they've always been my go-to scanner for some reason. It's just the first thing I've ever picked up. Somebody brought it. Somebody handed me the Altel scanner and said, use it, and I did. So, with the scope thing, it's universal. You can apply that to any vehicle. European vehicles are a little different because of the disassembly. You may have to disassemble things a little more to get it done. But I think the biggest boost in my efficiency, my diagnostic efficiency, has been the scope and theory. Reading diagrams, reading all kinds of diagrams that you can, learning little details here and there, how things work. Once you get the theory down, I'm not saying I totally have it down, but once you get theory down, things you see things differently. You test in different ways. So if I could tell you anything, it would be fall in love with wiring diagrams, fall in love with the scope. Even though European vehicles, believe it or not, you tend to use the scope less. Sometimes you might not even need a scope at all. When I was at another shop, it was an exotic shop. I was there for a very short time. Um, Left, but I used the scope literally on one Corvette. That was probably the only time I ever used it in the short time that I was there. Excuse me. I do have my water this time. Last time I didn't have any water. I had to go run off. But yeah, I would say use the scope. That was the biggest boost in efficiency that I ever had. Um, like right now, I have a BMW, and I'm suspecting timing issues. Right, it has a very sloppy cranking, and it doesn't start. It's a crank no start. And I already did a relative crank and amperage test. Basically, wrap a clamp around the starter wire and give it a good crank, and the waveform was absurd. And from there, you already know you have an issue, right? Is it timing, or is it a broken belt or chain or whatever? You have direction. Once you have that direction, the biggest efficiency killer is going in the wrong direction. Obviously, you do not want to be totally confident that something is wrong when it's not. So for me, when I hear a sloppy cranking, first thing I do is check the amperage. Once you see that, you can move forward. And since I don't have a known good correlation waveform for this engine, I might end up going with the in-cylinder, and it might give me the data that I need. Just like I saw with this Audi, I was able to see instantly on my first test. I did get a correlation, but I also got the in-cylinder. On my first test, I was able to see that there was an advanced exhaust valve timing. That was the most obvious thing that I saw. And I may be able to see the same thing here. But there's other variables here. There's the Valvetronics system in here. You have to work with the strategies of each car. So learn theory, learn strategies. What does a car do? Some vehicles, when you disconnect a coolant temp sensor, it'll go to -40, but on some of them it'll go full hot to get you into the shop. They'll say it'll show full hot, like on a BMW 3 Series. That's what happened to me today. So you got to learn the strategies of each car as they come. Read up if you can. The YouTube videos help a lot too, especially Keith DeFazio's videos and New Level Auto. He shows a lot about strategies and the way things work and what happens when something is doing a particular when you have a particular issue. What does it resort to? What's the strategy? Just like knowing that on some vehicles, when the PCM goes down or when the 5-volt reference is shorted, causing the PCM or DME or whatever you want to call it to go AWOL, sometimes the fan will go full blast. And then some people might not realize, my car doesn't start and the fan is on full blast, and it's easy to get straight away by the strategy. Some Chryslers, when the interior bus goes down, it'll turn on the wipers as a strategy because it doesn't want, like if you're in the rain and the interior bus goes down, Chrysler in their in their engineering department, they thought, why would we kill the wipers? What if it's raining and their wipers stop working? So their strategy is, if the communication fails, let's turn on the wipers full blast. Some people take that and they say, it must be the switch, it must be this and that, but it's a strategy. So learn the strategies is what I could say would probably be the best. And again, Keith DeFazio at New Level Auto, he shows all this stuff. He shows even that fan. I mean the wipers coming on and whatnot as a strategy. Actually, I showed that too in one of my communication videos on a Jeep. Pico Boo, what's up, man? Looks like a 458. Yeah, I would have to look it up, but you may be right. I believe it was an F430, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. Oh, Nick says F430. Yes, F430. Rob Karstuff, do you partake in the hard alcohol? I don't know. Is that a thing, like hard alcohol? Who says that? No, I don't. Well, if I knew what you were talking about, if you're talking about hard liquor or if you're talking about something else, man. Wyman Lay, did you start studying ADAS systems? What kind of the equipment you're using? We have very simple targets. We don't have the full blown set or anything. I did start using studying ADAS systems, um, especially in local training with CTI training. Um, those are my local trainers. Richard Falco is my local trainer. He's from Train by Tex, but he's also local to me in a way. So yes, I did start studying ADAS systems. I started studying them maybe last year, but we don't get all that much of them in this shop. I've had maybe two ADAS stuff, and some of them are dynamic calibration. So you just go for a test drive. You put the scan tool, put dynamic calibration, go for a test drive, and you're good to go. But on some of them, you have no choice. John Sanchez, thanks Mario for all the great videos. Can you start diagnosing with any scope? Thanks, bud. No, honestly, I can't start diagnosing with any scope because, oh well, you're saying for you, but for me, I have a hard time with a snap-on one. But yeah, you can start diagnosing with just about any scope. You are gonna want certain specs, but any decent scope worth its weight, any non-Chinese scope, I guess you could say, will do just fine. Pico Scope offers entry-level scopes if that's what you're into. It's better to. I think the software is where it's at. If you can't get the full-blown automotive Pico kit, you can still get another Pico, but still have that software. The software is incredible. The zooming capabilities, the ability to put filtering after the capture once the capture is done. The math channels, the reference waveforms, and just the networking of it all as well. Like you can save these waveforms as a Pico file and send them to whoever you want to, and they can manipulate the file as need be. So it goes much further than just a screenshot. Somebody like how I used it. Like how I mentioned earlier in this Audi case. Christopher Williams on the Facebook groups, he grabbed one of those files and he was able to analyze it himself, and he found an issue there, and that goes a long way. Just being able to send the file in its native format, it's pretty awesome. So I would say, yes, you can start with any scope, but if I could tell you to grab any scope to start with, I would highly recommend the Pico scope, mainly because of the software, if anything else. Matt K, good evening. Hey, bud. How's it going? Mahmood, I hope I said it right, bud. I have a question for you. 2013 Beetle 2.0 bad ECM. What is the best way to reprogram a used ECM? Comfort junkyard. Thanks. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have a problem with Otis. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have a problem with Otis. You could just stick that sucker in there. Like I mentioned it earlier, the process for it, you go to replace and code ECM on Otis, and it tells you when to put the new one, and I believe it'll do a used one. If not, you may have to clone it. That's an entirely different process. I'm not familiar with exactly which ECM is in there off the top of my head, so I couldn't tell you what tool you would need, but you may be able to do it with VCDS if you could get the pin in order to do it. I believe you need a pin to be able to do it. I don't use VCDS all that much, but I know that I'm pretty sure they'll teach it in. I don't think Autel will do that at all, and I really don't think Snap-on will do that at all. So if not, if you're going to clone it, you might need something like KTag or XProg or something like that. So that's a whole different ballpark right there. Matt K, congratulations on the baby. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Dave Osborne, then congrats on the upcoming baby. Thank you very much, bud. I appreciate that as well. Her name is going to be Angie. My first daughter is Amber, and the second one's Angie. This I can't wait, man. There's nothing like it. Joe, is Scotty Kilmer the greatest diag tech of all time? In his own opinion, maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know if he's a diag tech at all. Um, he's entertaining. I don't watch him, but I've seen certain clips. Uh, he's doing his own thing and it's working for him, so that's cool. That's fine. He's successful in his own right, so I'll give him that. Um, greatest diag of all time? I don't know. I couldn't even say who's the greatest diag tech of all time. Period. Francisco, thanks for coming, bud. Um, we do need a South Florida get together soon. I was actually hoping to come up with something. I was going to speak to the shop owner and see if he was interested in allowing us to do something down here. But it may be a little too south for you. I don't know, man. But let me know. Keep in touch, and we should make that happen for real. But Central, Adrian is in Central Florida, and get all of Florida as well. I mean, I've gone up to Daytona. I've gone up to. I think it's time for people to come down. People need to come down here. But maybe I'm just being selfish. That's just my that's just my opinion. Um, Adrian gets kicked regular. Yes, man. Yes, we get kicked regularly. Alan, start of college fun. Thanks, bud. I appreciate that, bud. Jonathan, howdy. Hope I'm not too late. Nope, you're just in time. Um, we're in the Ask Me Anything segment. If you didn't notice, man, I got some catching up to do. These comments are way back. Phil, the challenge with Volkswagen is all the damn channels on the scanner to look at data. Who knows them off the top of their head? I don't. I don't either. But you can look them up in Ross Tech. Look up Ross, like from Friends, Ross, or like the store that shut down or whatnot. Tech, and it'll show you a generic version of those blocks. But the good thing about the Altel and about VCDS is that VCDS it's section by section. Otis gives you the whole list down, and Altel as well. It's under advanced measure value. It'll give you the whole thing down. I personally couldn't care for going section by section, going to block 91, going to block 003 or whatever. I don't care for that, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. The mechanic. I'm late, but I see from the comments you're having a baby. Congrats. Thanks, bud. I really appreciate you. Am I saying that right? The mechanic. Am I missing something there? Because I've always looked at it and I don't know. What's behind that? I must have missed it. The mechanic. I don't know. Call me slow, but I must have missed it. I don't get it. AutoLogic Blue Link failed the conductor plate reprogram today. That sucks. What did you use? I mean, did you use Sentry or I forgot. There was something else that somebody had mentioned that you could use for conductor plate reprogram. I know the shop owner. I caught him the other day cloning one, so that was pretty cool. And at the bench, like it took it all down. Let me see. Alejandro Alvarado. Hey, Christmas party for the Florida people. Markham Park. Good night, everyone. Keep doing a great job, Mario. You truly inspired. Thanks, bud. Thanks for watching, bud. We should really do something. I don't know about Markham Park though. They're probably still closed or whatnot. I don't really know what's going on with them. Voltage drop diagnostics. I'm glad you're still on. I had to run and grab dinner. Hey, I'm always here, man. I mean, I won't be here like 6 hours like last time, but I'll be here a bit longer. I'm hoping to catch up through these comments. But thanks for coming back. Hope dinner's good. Phil, I got effluent in diagnostics by never using Identifix when I started. You get your butt kicked on every car, then it all starts coming together real quick. That's absolutely right. I'm not a big fan of Identifix either. The first time I heard of it, they made it like, oh, you get on the site, they'll tell you what's wrong. And I'm like, what? And even back then, it just didn't sound right, Even though I was a new tech, I had some kind of like street sense, I guess you can call it, street smarts. And I didn't like that. There was something about it that I was like, so you just look it up and it tells you what's wrong. And they started showing me all this stuff, and once I saw all data, that's when I really got into it. Like I saw all data. For some reason, many people might not agree, but for me, all data, it does it. It does it well. It does the job well. Drew's Auto. What I miss? You missed the whole thing, man. Just kidding, bud. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you. Good Auto Diagnostics. Hey, good. He just bought a NOCO. I'm glad you listened, bro. But those of you who know about the NOCO, what do you call it? The Genie or the Genius charger or whatever. I forgot what the name was. But there's the GB70, the GB150. He was about to buy the GB70, and I had one of those before. And if you guys, whoever's interested in getting one of those NOCO GB jump starters, I'd say opt for the 150 because the 70 it doesn't cut the mustard, in my opinion. Drew's Auto, I've been over here playing with his Honda. Well, stop playing with it and fix it. No, I'm just kidding. What's wrong with it, man? What's going on over there? Rob G, I'm working on a Mercedes-Benz GLC 350 2016, and I really don't work on Euro, but hey, I'll take my chances. Go for it, man. I mean, that's all you. I don't know what tools are you using, but better safe than sorry. But I think you'll be all right by the sound of the confidence. Oz, what's up? Mario, how did you get to grow that amazing full beard? I know it's disgusting, but whatever. You got to work with what you got, right? I'm just letting it go. I got a head start on No Shave November, so it works. I miss Keith's video. I do too, man. It's almost like he's more busy now. Not really, but those of you who don't know, Keith DeFazio from New Level Auto, he recently moved to North Carolina, and he's ventured off into a different aspect of the industry. I don't know if he's diagnosing cars himself. I know he's diagnosing cars every day in a way, but I don't know if he's doing it as his own business right now. But it would be awesome to get something from him. I know he did a case study yesterday on Train by Tech's live stream, but it would be nice to get one of those videos real quick of him kicking some car's ass. Jason, yes sir. Oz trying to get the man to stop. Oof. Yeah, man, you messed up. Esteban, would you recommend a dealership technician that wants to be a great diagnostician to go work aftermarket? I know some pretty damn good dealer techs that are great diagnosticians and that kick ass in the aftermarket. And I know also pretty damn good aftermarket techs that kick ass in the dealerships when they get in there. It's all up to you, man. I would say that since you're in the dealer, you probably have access to the information that not a lot of people have. And I would take full advantage of everything that's being offered to you. And then if you decide that you want to go work aftermarket, well, that's up to you. More power to you. But I would take full advantage of everything they offer you at the dealership, if at all possible. You have known good cars everywhere. But then again, it totally depends on your time constraints and how busy you are and things like that. There's a lot of things that come into play, so it might be a little difficult to do certain things, to have that liberty to experiment and to learn and to improve. That's the thing. And if you do go work for aftermarket, man, I've never been a dealer tech, so I couldn't say. And I can never be a dealer tech because the repetition, I just can't do the repetition. Now, I could be wrong about that. It might not be as repetitive as I am assuming, but I just can't do it. But if you do go for aftermarket, I say go for a shop that respects diagnostics and see how they interact with you. See how they interact with the diagnostic tech if they have one. Um, do they charge diag fees? Do they send you to training? I mean, there's so many things that come into play here. It's hard to say. Uh, Oz, thanks, bud. I appreciate you, man. I really do, brother. Um, wow, I'm catching up. Nice. I guess I'll be going home a little early today. Alex Tolstoy. How is it possible to have a heater O2 sensor heater wire, 12 volts, and don't have a current when I put my multimeter and check amps? Well, if you're open circuited on the command side, you would have 12 volts come from the fuse box, right? Through the O2 sensor. And although your PCM is attempting to command it on, you'll never have current. But you'll still have 12 volts on both wires of that O2 sensor. That's one way. The other would be is if the ECM is actually not commanding it on. So what codes do you have? What symptoms? Do you have 12 volts at the PCM? That would tell you that you have good continuity all the way up to the PCM. Do a pin drag test. What's the previous work history? Has somebody been in there? Did somebody bend a pin? Did yeah, I mean, need more info. But yeah, that's a good place to start, is check for 12 volts at the PCM. That would tell you that your wire is good all the way up to the PCM. Just like any other circuit with one load in it, like say an injector. An injector has a constant 12 volt feed, just like a almost any solenoid really, or any actuator. And if you check it and it has 12 volts all the way up to the PCM, obviously you would want to confirm loaded as well. So you would probably have to remove the component and obviously disconnect the PCM, key off and everything, and or disconnect the module in question and bypass the connection with the component removed. So you bridge those and you check for 12 volts with the key on, obviously, or unless it's hot at all times, whatever. Get it hot, get the power feed coming down all the way to the module with the connector disconnected, and check for a loaded continuity. So what I mean by that is place a load on it, and you do that by either, it depends on what kind of wire you're checking, but most of the time you could get by with a headlight. It's usually a 4 amp draw or 4 amp load on it, and if you want to be very particular about it, you can compare the current reading between battery, the headlight bulb that you're using to load the circuit. You connect it to the battery source voltage, positive and negative. Check that current, and then connect it to the wire in question, obviously grounded at the battery, and check that current there. And if you see a current drop, you may have an issue with resistance, and it might be just as right. It's subjective. You never know simply just by looking at it if it's 100%, but you would know 100% if you actually measured the current. So that's one way to do it. Jaime, buen rostro. Great videos, Mario. Would you be able to give us a shop tour? Not with the setup that I have now. I'm using the camera that I usually use, and thanks to Chad's slick skills, Chad, the practical mechanic, he gave us the heads up as to how he set it up. He has a capture card, and I'm using the camera I usually use for all my things to do this live stream. So I have it on a tripod. I can't do the shop tour now, and besides the shop is going through kind of a rearrangement. They're going to add more lifts pretty soon. I'm not sure when, but I would love to give the shop tour once it's done, you know, give it justice. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Oops. My goodness, I'm going like back and forth here. All right. Jason, late to the chat. What advice can you give to an amateur that is trying to expand their diagnostics knowledge? I did kind of answer this before, previously, to another viewer, but I would say learn the strategies of each car. What does a car do under certain conditions? Under what symptoms are exhibited under certain failures? Get for an amateur that's trying to expand their diagnostic knowledge, I would say do what I did, and that is YouTube is your friend. If you never heard of Scanner Danner, you need to go look him up. And he has both on-the-job training or videos, I guess you could say training videos, and also in-class stuff with a lot of theory in it. And he also has a premium website, excuse me, that you can, I think it's like, what, $11 a month? You can look in there, and you will be bombarded with the amount of knowledge that you can find in there. So, you know, and what I did was whatever word I didn't understand, I Googled it, I looked it up. And also Trained by Text is pretty good. They show case studies and situations in which, you know, it's always good to see case studies, you know. A lot of people might not like them, but I think case studies are great, and they show different situations, different failures and different diagnostic strategies in order to figure them out. Like I said, YouTube is your friend. That's what I did. As soon as I heard about Scanner Danner, South Main Auto, New Level Auto, I was hooked and just watch it all. You know, this was before I ever knew there was such a thing as 5-volt reference. I didn't even know what a 5-volt reference was, you know. I guess it also depends on what level amateur you're talking about, because from knowing absolutely zero to being a diagnostician, it's a long road, but there's things that you can do to make it easier to navigate that road. You know, YouTube is just one of them. You know, and a lot of it is weeding out the bad stuff too, because there's a lot of bad information out there. And there's a lot of incorrect information. And I'm not saying that everyone should be perfect 100% of the time. You know, there's a lot of people who are wrong all the time. I'm wrong every now and then as well, all the time actually. And but you're gonna have to read between the lines. You know, diagnostics knowledge. You can also check out. There's this website. Let me look it up for you. It has a lot of good info. Let me see if I saved it. I used to look at this was a long time ago. Easy Auto Diagnostics. It's just a website that kind of gives you like a heads up as to certain failures and what to look for. You get pretty, you know, once you figure out how the things work, like you can either do it that way, the Identifix way, which is look for this many voltage on this wire, or you can look at the theory and understand the way it works. You know, so if you don't know what a Hall effect sensor is, look it up. It needs a ground, it needs a reference, which, you know, is, some people call it the supply, and then it has a signal back to the computer. And, you know, there's just so many different things that you're just gonna have to take the time after work or during lunch or whatever, and take the time and look up each and every single thing. A crankshaft position sensor, how does that work? Is it a Hall effect? Is it a permanent magnet? Wheel speed sensor? All of these sensors, most of them end up being very similar, but there's different strategies in place, so you have to learn that. There's so many different systems, like communications. Take a day to read about communications. CAN bus, K-line, SPI, or is it SCI? Wow, I could be totally screwing that up. But there's all kinds of areas where you're just going to have to systemically teach yourself. And when the time comes and training comes around, if you want you can email me and get a um, heads up on training. Also, Train by Text, if you go to their website, trainbytext.com, they show all of the scheduled training classes you could take. And let me tell you, once you get into one of those classes, forget it, you'll get hooked. If you really want to do this, you will get hooked on that. So it's entirely up to you. Go check out trainbytext.com and check out a training section, and I believe they tell you all that stuff. So here you were. I hope that helps. I can, if you want to get more into specifics, I can answer that as well if you're interested. The automotive Dr. Mr. Wilson, congratulations on the baby. Best wishes to you and family. Thanks, bud. I really appreciate that. November 248. I think I saw where it took issue with Matt Schrodinger on head gasket video. Yeah, I did take issue with him because I used to have the utmost respect for that guy because he was the first video that I saw that it was fuel trims. It was the first diagnostic video I ever saw in my life. When I was confronted with my first ever diagnostics, and I had a fuel trim code, and I looked up fuel trims. I didn't know what fuel trims was. What's fuel trims? So that's what I did. Exactly what I'm telling Jason to do is exactly what I did. Whatever words I don't know, whatever code I don't know, I'm looking it up, looking up videos, looking up everything I can on it. So that's what I did, and I followed his channel for a very long time. And for some reason, I totally overlooked this glaring occurrence in almost all of his videos, was that he would bash other technicians who attempted a diagnosis on whatever car he was working on at the time. And he has issues with people charging for diagnostics, where he boasts that he does diagnostics for free. Hey, good for you. Up to you. Good for you. But before he even fixes it or before he even diagnoses it, he went on this rant on this head gasket video, and he went on this rant. Oh, the guy's an idiot and this and that. And it's a huge disservice to the industry because he's not part of it. He's not an actual technician. He's a microbiologist, if I'm not mistaken. I totally forget. And I'm not trying to talk bad on the guy. I'm just trying to talk about this issue that I had with someone that I totally respected. And I just find this one issue with him, and I just wish it would change because there's a lot of YouTubers out there that are propping themselves up at the expense of those who work in this industry. And it's no tech knows everything, and he treats every one of his diagnostics that came from another professional technician, whether they came from Jiffy Lube or whether they came from anywhere, doesn't matter to him. If you wear a uniform and you charge for a diagnosis, or you own a brick and mortar shop, you're considered a professional diagnostician or technician or whatever. And he automatically just he just if you look at any one of his videos, almost any one of his videos, he does it at the expense of the automotive industry. It's a huge disservice, and Scotty Kilmer does it too. And for a long time, I stayed very quiet about that. I never talked to anybody about it, except very close friends. And I never made it public knowledge in my channel until right now that you mentioned it. And I don't want it to seem like, oh, Mario got on his channel and started talking crap about another channel and this and that. But I've stayed quiet long enough. I have a real issue with YouTubers that have become very successful at the backs of those who work hard to get where they are in this industry. I'm not talking about shady techs. I'm not talking about thieves and crappy techs. I'm talking about people you never know. We don't know that person that worked on that car last. Matt doesn't know for sure. I don't know who worked on any car that I've gotten that I said it came from another shop. I don't know their level of expertise. I don't know if they really tried hard. And I mentioned in my videos, they got that right. Or I could see why they did that. Look at the Range Rover video. I made the same diagnosis as the previous shop, and it was another key piece of information that had me keep going. So not knowing the circumstances of wherever that car was before makes no difference to Matt, unfortunately. And this is not a troll thing. It would be funny if he puts me like this whole cat versus troll thing, because he does this segment where he responds to trolls or whatnot. I'm not trying to troll him or anything, but me as a YouTuber, as a technician, I think there's a huge difference between our channels. My channel, I'm trying to empower the technician. I'm trying to give them the tools that they need to make it happen, to put food on their table. And I think that he, in his own way, is discrediting this industry, and it sucks. And when I see other technicians do that, not other technicians, other YouTubers discrediting this industry as hard as it is to do this sometimes, it sucks. It really does. I see a lot of YouTubers that do that, and it makes my blood boil, to be honest with you. I'm usually a happy guy. I tend to be a happy guy. But when it comes to those things, there's no way I could hide my disappointment and my anger on the issue. It sucks. So that's why I actually took the time to answer your question here, because any other day I probably would have been like, I'm not gonna get into that. No comment, this and that. I stayed quiet long enough, and I think it's time to speak out, and for the industry, for those who really try hard in this industry, to speak out and make a clear distinction to the public between the diagnostician and the ones that are, I'm not going to call them an imposter, but there are imposters out there. There are people who claim to be part of this industry, but really all they've done is fixed cars here and there and insulted the industry as part of their way of getting more subscribers. And I see that a lot in this industry in the way that shops work as well. And a customer would come in with a car and they said, "Oh, this guy from down the street, he tried to diagnose it, and he got it wrong." And then the salesperson of the shop that I was at, I won't mention any names. It definitely wasn't this shop, that's for sure. We don't do that here. I could honestly say that. But that shop that I was at, they were like, those guys are idiots. Those guys don't know what they're doing. Good thing you brought your car over here. Or something like that. They'll say something to that effect. And I think that does a huge disservice to the industry as a whole. Because, first of all, customers already don't trust us in their own way, And it's even worse when, you think a customer would want to bring their car to the shop that they're going to start bashing on other technicians, When do you hear doctors doing that? When do you hear anybody in any other industry eat their own, They don't do that to each other. They respect each other and they give it their best and they try to fix it. And it kind of makes you look worse if you can't fix it after all that crap that you just talked about the other shop. It just makes you look worse. I believe in under promise and over deliver. I rather be humble about it, approach a problem humbly and come out winning than to say, "Hey, I'm gonna get this one. This is gonna be easy," and then end up as a total fail, and just making a huge spectacle of yourself. So, which is what Matt did. I'm sorry, but that's exactly what he did. He said that, the technician called a head gasket on this thing. It's not a head gasket. He's an idiot. And then after like spending like 3 other videos on it, it was the head gasket. And there was no apologies. It was like, it was excuses about like his equipment or who knows what. But yeah, rant over. For those of you who didn't see that coming, my apologies, but that's all I'm going to say about that at this moment. Oz Mechanics, Mario, would you ever consider working as a teacher for CTI, ATG, or take some gigs for Vision or Super Saturday? Would I ever consider? I would consider it. I just don't think I'm the right guy. I don't know if I'm like at that level, because I see what they do, man, and it's not easy, brother. It is not easy to get up there and then make this stuff happen, man. It's a lot harder than it looks. And I don't think that in any way, shape, or form that by me doing a live stream case study renders me fit to do what these guys do. On any of these, I haven't taken an ATG class yet, but on any of these training events or companies, they're truly great at what they do. And I don't think I'm there. I can fix them better than I can teach it. I hope so. But I wouldn't take it off the table, but I haven't documented as many case studies as I would like to have to be able to come up with any kind of fresh material. So there's that. There's that issue as well. So there's a lot of obstacles for me to from doing something like that, but I wouldn't take it off the table. Voltage drop diagnostics. I don't remember if I ever heard you mention it, but did you have a mentor when you first became a tech? I did. His name is Andy. And he was one of those mentors that, like, whenever you made a mistake, I think every mentor in my life, whenever you made a mistake, they just laugh at you. And they'll just say, that's it? That's all you got? Or they'll come up with some wisecrack. And and we both laugh. It's not like they were totally assaulting you. You know, it was actually funny. And it would drive me to improve, you know. His name's Andy. He's actually in one of the Facebook groups. He's in several, but he's very laid back. He doesn't really go out of his way and go crazy about like posting stuff or anything like that. He's very laid back. It's funny that you mentioned that, because my mentor, well, the guy that first taught me how to play guitar, it's the same thing. You know, it's a thing. You have to use your pinky, right? If you don't use your pinky, you might as well chop it off. They say you might as well chop off your pinky because you're not using it. And he would always say like these funny jokes that would make me laugh, and I was just like, okay, I'll start doing it, this and that. They were both exactly the same, very funny and got me going. You know, when I got my first diagnosis, it was with him as well, with Andy. And I got the car. The car was a comeback or whatever. I did valve cover gaskets on it. It was a comeback. Had some codes. Long story short, I looked at the codes and I'm like, oh, fuel trims lean on both banks. And I'm like, what the hell does lean mean? Whatever. I go up to him and I'm like, hey man, can the diag tag look at this? Or he's like, no, you're the mechanic, you figure it out. And then no questions asked. I researched it. I made a smoke machine because we didn't have one. I made a smoke machine off of an empty paint bucket, one of those like aluminum ones, and smoked it out, found the leak, fixed it, and the rest is history, as they say. And and that was it. That was my mentor. And from then on, it was just like, okay, you know what? I like this. This is clean. This is good. And I figured it out. There's a man. There's something about figuring out the problem that's like very uh, gratifying. You know, something about it. Jorgen, I hope I said it right. Do you plan to engage more with the Spanish community? I would love to, man. I would, but I'm very reluctant to because my Spanish sucks. And then also, imagine I get like a hundred comments asking me questions about the car I just filmed, and to type that is very hard for me. I literally have to like do a talk to text in English and then translate that to Spanish and respond with that as a comment. It gives me. It's not that I don't appreciate the YouTube community, but it will really increase my workload all in all, you know. And the fact that I suck, if I was good at Spanish, I would do it. But the fact that I really suck at Spanish and that I always like, um, I'm great at writing it. Don't get me wrong. Like coming up with the words, I just, it's just I need the time to do it. If, but for me to do it on the spot and like me to do a live stream all the time in Spanish and answer questions on the spot, I would make a total fool out of myself. That's the truth. So as much as I want to, I don't know that I could. Hope that answers your question. Why not just have a link on your channel to all the usual YouTube channels? Most of watch Danner, Steve, Scott, Joe, Keith, etc. Because I'd rather people ask me and I could tell them straightforward, instead of putting like this this copy and paste type thing. I did that with one of my videos. It was the suburban videos with the O2 sensor codes, and I have a list of all the channels. I actually mentioned it in the end of the channel, in the end of the video, all the channels that were instrumental in helping me become the tech that I am today. And I believe I put a list with all the links as well, but I don't want to copy and paste that everywhere. If somebody would ask me, hey, what channels can I watch? I'd, go over there, take a snapshot, or, refer them to that video. I don't know. I don't know why. That's how I do it. Joe, when are you going to open up your own shop? And since your boss is watching, what holds you back from not opening up your own shop? That's funny. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just not something that I find appealing to do at this point, especially in Florida. I'm at a good shop, man. He's taking care of me, and I just feel like I don't have like a clientele like that either. I don't do side work. I don't have like any of that stuff anymore. I don't do side work at all anymore. There's just I used to want to have my own shop, and I don't know. I don't see myself being a shop owner. I guess I don't know. Maybe even if I was a shop owner, I'd probably end up being a tech in there because I like to diagnose. I would probably find it hard to distinguish myself from being either owner or tech. I'd probably be a tech more than I would be an owner, and that can lead to mismanagement and possibly failure. And I guess I just don't want to take that risk. And on top of that, I have other things going on in my life where a shop is just not like a priority, or even going mobile. I was actually going to go mobile before I came here, but then I visited this shop one day. I was really close to going mobile. And I feel like I'm glad I didn't because of the COVID thing. It probably would have gone downhill. But when I came over here, it's like I'm getting diags and I don't have to go to them, and I'm getting the experience I need here, and I feel like, and I'm getting paid what I want to get paid, and I feel like why go through all that trouble um, when I'm getting the experience on Euros here. I'm getting the cars coming to me. I don't have to chase them down. I don't have to worry about rain, the incredible heat out there. Um, you know, who knows? That's where I'm at now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but that's where I'm at right now, to answer your question. Phil, Mario wasn't looking at porn on his computer. He looked up auto diagnostics when he was younger. That's right. Oh, man. Diagnostic porn, I guess you could call it. Sorry, made it late. There's no need to apologize, man. Thanks for joining us. Esteban. Thank you, Mario, and congrats for the baby. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's going to be one heck of a time. Voltage drop diagnostics. I remember that head gasket video very well. He was bashing the tech for calling a head gasket, and it ended up being, and it ended up needing a head gasket after he made bad calls. Yeah, that's right. It sucks, man. But it is what it is. Sometimes it's better to be humble. Like I said, it's better to be humble and start fresh than to come in and talking all this big talk and then bashing on another technician who actually got it right. And it's just, it doesn't make any sense, man. It really doesn't. KD Automotive. I'm wrong all the time. Never know how busy the other guy was or what he found, or he may have fixed an issue, but not the complaint. Yeah, you never know the circumstances. You could be, you could be pulled from the job and going to another one, and then when you get back, you totally forgot where you were. It happens to me all the time. I mean, not all the time, but I usually forget where I was. But or a customer could be asking them questions. Sometimes the customer themselves could be the biggest interruption. I've seen that happen a couple of times. So one guy was doing an oil change on a Kia with those canister filters, and the guy was having a great time talking to the customer. And I was working like a dog, and I'm like, man, he's talking a lot over there. And which is, whatever, that's up to you. And I didn't say nothing, and they did the oil change, and the guy got on the road and had to call the tow truck back because all of the oil came out. The other technician, although he was having a great time talking to the customer, had forgotten to put the O-ring for the canister, the oil filter canister. And as much as he had fun talking to that customer at that time, when the customer returned with no oil in his engine, it's like they never talked at all. It's like he's the bad guy. He's the worst, And then that's when I told him, I told him straight up. I told him, look, man, focus on your work. You can talk to the customers before and after, but this goes to show that sometimes the customers, you can talk to them all you want, but they're not necessarily your friends, and this ended up costing you instead. It's better. You're better off focusing on your work and letting them know, hey, listen, I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. This is pretty important stuff here. Than to continue on in a whole conversation and causing these kind of troubles only to have the customer hate you after you had that pleasant conversation. That's how I told them, and it's unfortunate, but it's true. It happens. Hi, A.M.A. How long have you been a technician and or a diagnostician? Depends on what you mean by diagnostician. I guess I'm not like Keith DeFazio level diagnostician, if you want to call it that. I like to think that I am, but I have been a technician since 2013, so 7 years, and my first diagnosis was about 2.5 years into the job, so about 5 years. But that was my first diagnosis. I think I've been a diagnostician maybe less than 2.5 years. To be realistic, to say that most of my stuff is diagnostics, or that I'm getting more diagnostics correct, I would probably say, a better probability of success as diagnostics in diagnostics, I would probably say 2 years ago, or yeah, 2.5 years ago. A lot has changed in that time. Maybe 3 years ago, to be honest. Adrian, lawyers bash each other on television. LOL. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I guess. But why should we have to? I mean, like, why should we have to? I figure the industry is only as strong as its weakest link. I was having a conversation with Sean. Well, you guys might not know him, but Sean from the Facebook groups, Sean Schultz, came by, and we actually didn't get along at first, but he's not so bad. He's actually pretty cool. We had a good conversation, and one of the things I mentioned to him was that the customer comes up to the shop, and it only takes one technician that doesn't know what he's talking about to make them look bad, to make the whole shop look bad, And I think there should be a very bare minimum level of competence and knowledge and the ability to project those things to the customers. I think every technician at every level should have a basic training on how to speak to customers, how to interact with them. So we get so focused on how to diagnose cars and this and that, but there's a lot of technicians that don't talk to customers, don't interact with them. They don't have people skills. They don't have sales skills. They don't have a comforting approach. And I think that it's hurting the industry, because if a customer comes up, as mean as they could be, we've seen them all, as mean as they could be, if they come up to a tech that turns it all around for them and changes that attitude and instills confidence in them, then that would counteract the such high bad press that we've gotten thus far. It's hard to say. I guess what I'm trying to say is that at the bare minimum, there should be some kind of very, very standard level in which every technician should have when it comes to interacting with customers and the knowledge that they project. They should be able to answer technical questions, even though they're not a full-on diagnostic technician. They should be able to get that message across to customers. Oh, why doesn't my car start? Well, it could be fuel, it could be a metering device. We need to hook up our equipment and make a proper diagnosis so that you can start your car, and then once it does start, we'll see how it runs. Yada yada yada. Right? I think there has to be a very minimum level there in order for this industry to come around and to turn around that press that we've had so far. We've had so much bad press. Mechanics, they're all a bunch of a-holes. They're all mean. They're all grease monkeys, and they're all this and that. There should be some kind of minimum level of presentation, knowledge, competence, and articulation. That's just my opinion. I don't think much will change from the customer's perspective, how they view us, unless there's all that included. There needs to be all that, and from all sides, there needs to be accountability from everybody who works on a car professionally. And there should be a clear distinction as to who's a professional and who is not. And I just, everybody's a mechanic these days. I think that should change. There should be a very clear distinction between who's a real professional technician and who's not. It's not, oh, that's a shade tree mechanic. People still pass off as mechanics, even though they're shade tree mechanics. But Anyway, I digress. November. Understood. Thanks for elaborating. Big fans of both of you. Thanks, bud. Uh, remove and replace. I think. I think Schrodinger gave you the only thumbs down. Oh, I got a thumbs down. My goodness. I would understand if somebody gave me a thumbs down because I went into that area and I've never done that before. It's not something you're used to seeing me do in this channel. I can totally understand that why somebody will give me a thumbs down. But um, what are we supposed to stay quiet? Are we supposed to just say nothing as like these people are lining their pockets at the expense of hardworking technicians? I don't think so. Anyway, Roxanne Abbott. I stopped watching Matt because of putting down other techs, shops, etc. Love you, Mario. I think you were my first in watching. Thanks, Roxanne. I appreciate that. I same reasons here. Uh, I literally stopped watching. Um, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. I've said plenty already about them. Roxanne, do you have a video on how you made that smoke machine? I do not. This was before I ever even thought about YouTube as a thing for me, you know. But there are videos out there already on YouTube in which that's what I looked up, and you could see how it's made. But um, some smoke machines are coming around. They're starting to lower in price. I've seen some around the $200 mark, $300 mark. Back when I made that smoke machine, it was $2,000 for a smoke machine back then. It was like $1,600 for a smoke machine back then. So that was just out of the question. Excuse me. And I had no choice but to make my own, to be honest with you. But do look up DIY smoke machine if you really want to do it. I highly suggest you go with a unit, a unit made just for that, Francisco, when are you going to bolt on the big screen to the diag card? It's been a year already. Actually, I have it standing right behind. Um, I know, man. This big screen that he's talking about is a 32 inch. Not a 32 inch, it's a 40 inch or 42. And I won it in the Daytona training event last year, and it was awesome. First time I won a TV. Um, and I was actually considering putting that thing on the diag card, but I always wanted to be able to close the diag card, to be honest. So I said, nah. I think my next buy, if I ever get around to it, I don't think it'll be anytime soon, but I think eventually I'll want the same screen that I have now, but a touchscreen, and that way I could manipulate the scope captures like nothing. And there was I think a subscriber that reached out to me personally on Facebook, and he mentioned, hey, well, what do you think of this monitor? I'm like, man, that's great. I never knew that it existed. I think this one is a 27 inch, if I'm not mistaken, and it fits perfectly on the diag card. If I could find a 27 inch touch screen for the right price, I'd make a move on it. And but it probably won't be anytime real soon, Magid or Majid, or I think it's Magid. Hi, Mario. Hey, how you doing? I hope I pronounced it right. Adrian, I saw Sean came by. Great to see you two getting on. Yes, we shouldn't bash others. None of us are perfect. Yeah, it's crazy because Sean and I bumped heads at first. Um, I don't know how he feels about me talking about it, so I don't know if I should. With Matt Schrodinger, I never asked for permission because, well, he's a public figure, and I'm a public figure, I guess you could say. I mean, but Sean isn't really out there like that. He's not someone who's public all the time like this, I guess. And I don't know how he'll feel about it, so I don't think I'll talk about where we bumped heads. But a lot of it has been said concerning other people, but it's similar. He definitely wasn't bashing other techs. That's for sure. But anyway, I don't know where he stands on that, so I can't say anything. But I think it's great that we are also getting along as well. Um, I I I really hate having people that um, like enemies. I hate having enemies. But there are some people that distinguish themselves in such a way that it's just best if I don't talk to them. And those people, well, they don't appreciate that I share stuff on YouTube, you know. And I don't really care. So I just don't talk to them. Anyway, Peekaboo, car broke. I tried to fix. That's right. That's like in simplest terms what we do every day. Car broke. I fix it. That's it. That's what we do every day in, day out. K Morris paid $1,500 for mine 15 years ago on my smoke machine. My goodness. Yeah, man. I believe it. What brand was that? That's crazy. I'm catching up to you guys already. I think you guys are taking it easy on me, which, I'm not complaining. But I think you guys are taking it easy on me. Oh, and a couple of comments just popped up. Balzac. Hey, Mario. Balzac. Oh, man, you got me before I even thought about that one. I said it out loud. Nice. Well played. Hey, Mario. I know you own an AM608. Have you used an Ultra? I have not. If so, pros and cons, please. I have not. I've heard great things about them, but I've yet to even look at one. I have yet to even touch one. I guess it doesn't really matter at this point. I was supposed to be a beta tester for them, but they totally ditched that plan, and they didn't send one out, which is okay. I mean, it's up to them. It's not up to me. Whatever. But I was hoping to get some videos for you guys, but I guess not. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the IM608 as it is, though. But yeah, I was supposed to have the Ultra in my hands by now. Actually, since like maybe the beginning of the year. But I guess COVID threw a hammer into that plan big time, or at least that's the perfect excuse. But it's up to them. They do what they want to do. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not affiliated with them. Makes no difference to me. I'm still pretty happy with what I got, and I'm still fixing these cars. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if the Ultra would have been. I would have really liked to know if the Ultra would have been good with these cars here, because they've stepped up their game, but I just don't know how much. Their system has changed. I know they've added a couple of comms protocols on there, but I'll never know. Master Tech Sarge, can you make any monitor? You can make any monitor a touchscreen. Yeah, I seen the touch bars. With a touch bar placed on the bezel of the screen and USB plugs into PC. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 USBs. They're all used, and I've tried using an expansion thing, and they never work for some reason. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but yeah, I've seen the touch bar. They have their pros and cons. I've seen, and for a cheap enough price, I've seen some monitors for like around 200. I don't think it's just like why bother with the bar? I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong. I've heard of issues where it wouldn't, the calibration would be off, or it would touch where it shouldn't, or whatever. And I just don't need something like that. Like, I don't want to hit on the Pico. I don't want to hit a certain button, and then it causes the capture that I just took to go away after I put everything away. Imagine that. But I guess a little certain habits might work against me if I used a touch bar and the calibration was off. But that's just me. I do appreciate the suggestion though, man. Uh, X Motorsports, EX Motorsports. Oh man, just noticed you're on, Mario. Get bro. Get bro. I haven't heard that one before. Great to have you, Kevin. Great to have you, bud. Don't worry, it's all been recorded. I did a semi okay case study for you. I hope you enjoy it. You've probably seen it already. Mike's Mechanic and Auto Body. Can you use a scope to find an engine knock, like a piston knock? Watching from the Bahamas. Thanks, bud. Like a piston knock. You could probably use. The thing is that knock sensors are piezoelectric sensors, so if you scoped that sensor, you probably get what you need anyway. So yeah, you could definitely do that. Yeah, absolutely. I think South Main Auto, Erica, South Main Auto has done it like several times already. On several videos, he's scoped out those lines and it showed him what he needed to see. No problem. So be sure to check out, look up South Main Auto knock sensor. And I believe he scoped a couple of those. Excuse me. K Morris, OTC. Adrian, I got your vocal Orlando mobile guy. You got me there, bud. I got him. Yeah, he got me nasty. That was good. I'm sorry. You didn't get an outro, but I'm glad my name. Yeah, I got your name, bud. That was great. Philip, yo, Mario, can you reset oil lights with your new Altel on new Chrysler and new Land Rovers with security software? Yes, you can. And yes, I can. You have to be registered with Auto Auth. I'll put it right here, actually, for you guys to see. You have to be registered with AutoAuth.com. It's a 50 a year thing. And that registers you to gain access through the security gateway module and be able to do whatever you want on these cars. I think just about whatever you want. Obviously, it has its limitations. It's an aftermarket tool, so take it with a grain of salt. But you will have access through the security gateway module. I haven't touched a Challenger or any Chrysler, newer Chrysler since I've been here, so I couldn't say if you even need to reset or if you need access through the security gateway module to do that. I would assume you probably do, since you need that access for anything. So, Samurai Pizza Cat, do you do any transmission diags? How do you deal with cars that go into limp mode? First thing I do is check the codes. Today I did a quick diag on a 2002 Dodge. It's one of my coworkers, a Dodge Ram, the diesel one, and the transmission was giving a governor pressure sensor circuit high. So I told them either your ground is no good, which this was before looking at the diagram. Either your ground is no good. That's the thing. Once you learn how a sensor works, if it's a 3-wire sensor, you can diagnose any 3-wire sensor, any Hall effect sensor the same way. If you see that it's a circuit high, then it's stuck at 5 volts or anything above a certain threshold that, Dodge knows. And I told them either your ground is no good or you have an open circuit at the sensor or the signal wire, because the signal wire will send, in some cases, a straight 5, even though it's a 3-wire system. So I told them you can do 2 things. You can do one test to find out if it's the sensor, because it's in the valve body. You can disconnect the connector and bridge the signal wire to ground, and that way you'll know if your signal wire is good at the same time as your ground. Because if it doesn't pull it down, you have one of the two. bad ground, or an open signal wire. So it pulled it down. But if it didn't pull it down to ground, you could just check the ground right then and there with a multimeter or whatever you want. And but yeah, it pulled it down. Wiring is good all the way up to the connector. It's the sensor. He immediately took down the valve body, replaced the sensor, and everything is good to go. It came out of limp mode, and it was all happy sailing from there. But I tend not to do transmission diags because I when it's sensors, yes, but when it's like certain symptoms like slippage or whatnot, I don't even have the a line pressure tool or whatnot. I don't even have like tools to get in there, the adapters and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty limited on transmission stuff. So just to let you know. Ball sack. I'm sorry you didn't get an Ultra because I'm torn on what to buy. But I'm glad my name made you chuckle, bro. Thanks for taking the time to answer. I'll be watching. Anytime, bud. And thanks for watching. And thanks for tuning in. And that was the phone taking over my words. It was, hey, bro. Oh, yeah. That happens to me, too. That swiper or the word correction or whatever. I think I'm going to have to do a countdown. I'm going to have to start setting a time for the end of this live stream, but I'm going to keep going. Philip. Thanks for watching, bud. Paul Smith. Hey, Mario, it's good to see you. Good to see you too, bud. Can't wait to see you at training again. That was great times last time, man. Philip, Maseratis have the same two? Yeah, I know. Don't ever try on Autel and a Maserati Quattro Porte. It will not do the quick learn. Autel will not do a quick learn on that vehicle. I think it was a 2006, if I'm not mistaken. The Mako tool will not do it. It did it and made it get stuck in neutral. The launch Diagon did it. Wow. The launch Diagon did it. Just so you guys know. Whoops. Adrian, even the diagnostic over Internet Protocol, I think that's what DOIP stands for. JLR, the AutoLogic won't even do that. We had to go buy a Pathfinder. Whoa, that sucks. But which won't do what? Are we talking about resetting oil lights? Okay. Or yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about. Resetting oil lights. That sucks, dude. I've never tried the well, the Autel doesn't even have the Autel that I have doesn't even have the DOIP on it. Philip, yeah, we just bought a Maserati Scanto for 27 grand, and we have a factory Jaguar Land Rover tool as well. Yeah, man, that's nuts. Normally with Maserati we use the Leonardo, but yeah. We were going to use the Leonardo, but then we tried the launch first, and the launch did it. So that was really surprising. Paul Smith, Adrian, did you still want to have a diag session at your shop? If so, I'm in. Let me know if I need to send you my info. Rob, you ever changed the PCV valve on a 2016 Mercedes 3.5 GLE 350? I have not. I don't think I have. PCV valve. Last I remember, Mercedes usually has like these passages on the valve cover, the breather passages. They're like these little caps that are on the valve covers. You just, reseal them or whatever. I don't remember what the PC. I don't even remember what the PCV valve is on those Mercedes because, um, like I said, we have a Mercedes guy here, and he gets like literally all the Mercedes. If I get a Mercedes, it's because he's totally overloaded, but he handles his own pretty well. Austin Shores, hi Mario, I'm 21, and you give me motivation to continue with my community college auto program. Less than halfway done with my degree in automotive technology diagnostics. Thank you for the content. Thanks, Austin. Man, that's awesome. Let me know when you graduate. That's pretty awesome, man. Um, congrats. I'm glad I could help. That's makes it all worthwhile, really. That's just nuts. Thanks for taking the time to express that. But E. Duran, hi Mario. I admired you as a straightforward diag technician. You are good at what you do for a living. No wonder why a lot of people like you and follow you. Which are your diag mentors? Thanks, bud. I appreciate it. I hope I hope people follow me because it's it's good info. I don't want to give bad info. My diag mentors now. I mean, woo, I would say it is Jim Morton, Brandon Steckler. Um, a lot of stuff. A lot of I don't know if I would consider them mentors. I don't. The thing is, when I have questions, they are more than willing to help. I don't have someone right now in my face guiding me or anything like that. But I would consider them mentors in the sense that I've learned so much from them. You know. But yeah, I would say they are probably my top mentors right now in that sense. Those are the ones that I learned from the most. But yeah, I wish I could give you more names, but right now I don't have it. I did learn a lot from the Dave DeCourcy video. I say it over and over again. I can never stop saying it. If you haven't seen Dave DeCourcy, I'll write it down right here. Oops. Let me change that. Dave DeCourcy. I've seen this video plenty of times. And if you have not seen his videos, go watch them. I mean, well, I think he has one or two because of TST seminars. Go watch his video. And if you do not fall in love with in-cylinder diagnostics and pressure transducer diagnostics and misfire stuff and diagnostics in general, I don't know what will. I don't know what will get you past that hump, so to speak. So that's you gotta watch it. Let's see. Line pressure. Yes. I don't know. I'm not big on transmission, so yeah, probably don't even use that anymore. They have sensors now. Adrian Lowe's. Noise. Yeah, I believe he is. Paul Smith is in that group. Those of you who don't know, the Facebook group is Automotive Inside Network. Please answer the questions because I don't just let anybody in. It's not like, oh my goodness, an amazing group, but I like it. Automotive Inside Network. Go check them out on Facebook. But answer the questions, please. Or let me know that you saw this live stream. Just say I saw you on the live stream, and I'll let you in because you guys are awesome. Ron, God bless you and your family. Thank you. God bless you too and your family as well. Hope you guys are being safe and looking forward to a better year next year. Julio Castillo, ¿qué onda, Mario? Saludos, bro. Gracias. Saludos. Gracias por la sintonía. Paul Smith, okay. F1 transmission on the F430, I believe so. Peekaboo. I'll make sure to remember that the next time one comes in the shop. LOL. Hard to say what you're talking about. Sorry. Never seen one here. What are we talking about? Oh, Maserati? We have a Leo as well. Yeah. They're pretty simple, but they're good at what they do. Leonardo is what he's talking about. X Motorsports. I don't see any blue wrenches in here yet. Trade you a gray one or two for a blue one. You know what? See if this allows me to do it. It only gives me the option to block you. So let me go ahead and add you, bud. It's the least I could do. Done. You officially got a blue wrench, man. Carlos Caballero. Hey, what's up, Mario? Have you seen the new scanner from Automotive Test Solutions? If so, how do you rate it? What the eScan? I don't know if there's another one, a new one. I only know about the eScan Elite. I haven't used it yet. I've only used the other eScan. I don't even know what the name is, to be honest with you. They make great products, but I have not been able to use it consistently in the shop. It's very awesome for drivability diagnostics, but that's as far as you're gonna get with it, to be honest with you. Unless I'm underutilizing it, which it's a very real possibility. Um, I probably just need more time with it to get used to it. But with these cars having so many other codes other than just the drivability, the important ones or whatnot, and they have no descriptions for it, that really bugs me because I'd rather just have something that'll give it all to me all in one shot. Not necessarily saying that the Alta will give me everything I need every single time, because there are times where the OE will give me codes and show codes that the Alta will not. It just won't even display. So there's always that real possibility. It's rare, but it happens. But it's much worse, in my opinion, to have a non-drivability issue. You hook up the eScan to it, and then it just has like all these codes that they can't give you a description for, and then I just have to take off that scanner and put another one anyway. But for drivability, it's great. Like the tests that they have in there, the math tests and the VE tests, and oh my goodness, all that other stuff. It does it very well. So you have to know when to use it. Oh. Rob, yeah, dude. Thanks. I'm gonna look at those caps tomorrow. I saw them, and they are very similar to the BMW style PCV cap thingy, and with a little rubber insert. Yeah, it's been a while, man. Totally forgot what they look like, to be honest with you. Adrian, PCV oil separator is back of cylinder head. Nice. Oh wow. Oh yeah, Dave is awesome. Rest in peace. Yes, he is. You guys got to watch that video. You just have to. Eduran, thank you for your response. Thank you for tuning in and joining us in this chat. Rob G, is that what makes the loud screeching noise? I had a Chevy Cruze, one of the newer ones. I would say it was probably a 2015. Had a bad, a torn diaphragm on the PCV, and you would never. Oh my goodness! I thought it was a timing. I thought it was a chain slap. This thing had this ridiculous noise. I had a video a long time ago. I totally deleted it, but I wish I could show you guys. You would never believe it. It had a chain slap noise. We immediately everyone's like, "Is this mechanical?" But then a little whistle slowly creeped up from all the noise, and I'm like, "Wait a minute, hold on." And Oh wait, you know what? I might be incorrect about the torn diaphragm. When I took off the oil cap, the noise went away, and I just couldn't believe it. I'm just thinking to myself, how many people would have thought that this was a chain slap and went ahead and did the job? But yeah, you would never. PCV noises these days is just ridiculous. Like, come on. And now I recently found out, which is old news to probably a lot of people, but PCV valves aren't like only mechanical anymore. Now there's electrical PCV valves, um, like on Audis and certain vehicles. Now we have electrically controlled positive crankcase ventilation valves these days. Something I saw for the first time the other day. I just couldn't believe it. It was crazy. Um, I mean, everything you think you know and you think it will never change, just you can't think like that. And that's something I've learned the hard way. Could be with the check. I know it's in the PCV system. It goes away when I pull the dipstick or oil cap. Yeah. I know Peekaboo's real name. I think we all found out like a day ago or two. Thanks, brother. I really did just find out Peekaboo's name because of like the whole that group that Chad made, and he's like, "Hey guys, everyone, hey, surprise, I'm Peekaboo." And I'm like, "This guy's been my friend this whole time, and he's never told me that he's Peekaboo." I had a BMW not too long ago with the same problem. What do you suggest to do? I work at a shop that turns away diag work. My coworkers and I all want to do more diag, and we were training quite heavily until COVID. The boss only wants to do the gravy. I can't say I blame him, but that depends on what you want to do. You want to do more diags, obviously. I mean, look at your avatar. You have a pico scope. You want to make good on your investment, right? So if diag work has been something that has been costing you guys money so much, then yeah, he might be acting as a result of that. But if it's something that diag usually goes pretty well for you guys, I think he'd be making a pretty big mistake. Most diags can get done in pretty good amount of time. Most diags. So, and I don't know why he would just. I mean, yeah, he just wants the gravy. I get it. Is he is he forming an exit strategy anytime soon? That would probably be a good reason why you would want gravy work, because you want the books to look pretty good right before you sell it, right? Um, I don't know. It's just one of those things that creeps up into my mind when I see stuff like that. Philip, the cam driven oil separator is for full load, not idle. Cool. I'll give you the blue wrench, Pico. But don't ban him, please. He's still cool. Oh man, Jim, sure wish you were helping with my BMW dead can bus. Well, which bus is it? Is it the interior? Is it the high speed? I mean, does it start? Does it not start? Oh, it probably doesn't start. I'm sorry, but I'm way over here, and I don't do really like mobile diagnostics. Um, where are you located? Um, what tools are you using? Me, I'm a big scope guy. I got to see that waveform. But yeah, man. Happens to the crews all the time. I only saw that one time. All the other times I've seen that, it's only been the whistle or like some other noise, but um, not a chain slap noise like a mechanical issue. It was crazy. Steven, hey, do you use noise I think, vibration and harshness software by Picoscope. I do not have the kit. I use piezoelectric sensors though, but I don't use that software. I've never done it. I've seen a lot of people speak great things about it, but I've never done it myself. I don't know, man. It's just not. It's not something that's caught my attention to be, go out there and go and buy it. It's just, maybe that'll change. Who knows? Maybe that'll change. All right. So everyone's banning each other now. I think it is probably a good time to call it a day. There's still plenty of people in here, and you guys are just going along for the ride. That's awesome. I appreciate you guys. I really do. I hope this case study was awesome for you guys. I hope it was helpful. It's the one that really kicked my ass the most. It was my hardest diag, especially considering that at the time I was I was really inexperienced with Euros. I still am pretty inexperienced with them, but I'm trying to figure them out as best as I can, as quick as I can, and the best way I know how. It's just do it. Anybody who's considering doing Euros, I say go for it. But there's a lot of things to consider as well, especially with tooling, special tools, timing tools, this and that, OE, scan tools, and immobilizer stuff. There's certain things you're going to run into, and I wish you all the best if you decide to venture into the European stuff. It is a different animal. It is not at all like the non-European cars. It's a different animal, but you live and learn, roll with the punches, and keep going. Got a good waveform on scope, but no comm on powertrain can. Car starts and runs. You said it was a dead CAN bus. What's the code? It's got a good waveform, dead CAN bus. If there was no comm on the powertrain can, the car would not start and run. So there's something else going on here. I need to know the codes, to be honest with you. And the BMW. That's weird. Adrian, what's all the blue wrench stuff about? Blue wrench is moderators. If you see somebody with a blue wrench, they've earned. They have the ability to block you, mute you. If you say something inappropriate, they'll ban you or whatever they want to do. It's people who I trust to have the same mindset when it comes to what I would allow on this channel or not. I've had a live stream before, and some people were pretty vulgar, and the moderators at that time, they knew exactly what to do. They just kicked them out, and it was actually one of the dudes that was there was saying vulgar things in another YouTuber's live stream and got himself kicked from there too. I believe it was Train by Text too, at the Train by Text video. And I saw his same name over here, and I'm like, you again? And moderators took care of it. Sometimes, I might not be looking at the screen, or I might not be able to get rid of, I guess you could say, the insubordinate. No, I'm just kidding. But the people who just find it funny to troll you, or find it funny to say these, things that really have nothing to do with the channel and do no service to anyone. So I try to keep it clean. I try to keep it automotive related, and usually it's the outsiders who are, who've never commented on any of my videos ever before. It's usually them that are come in here and start spewing vulgarities and whatnot. So yeah, Pico Shapiro. That's funny. European, not for me. Come on. European or I'm a peon? Are you guys? Oh man. Well earned. Yes, you guys have well earned these blue wrenches. I oh, I must have missed one. But it doesn't show up over here, so I'll read it out loud. I thought I was pretty good at working on German cars, so I switched to Italian cars. Oh, okay. I see why it doesn't show up now. Because some maybe a moderator did something here. Yeah, I try to keep it clean in this channel. I try my best, but because you never know who's watching, right? I have um, family watching, and it doesn't need to be that kind of channel. Nothing against channels that allow whatever they want on it. It's their channel. But on this one, we're gonna keep it clean, and it's just better that way. I think YouTuber has a thing, something against any kind of cursing in there, but for the most part, I try to keep it clean anyway. Even before I ever found out about all that. Yes, I'm all caught up. I appreciate you all for tuning in. I actually was planning to cut this at 10. It's 10:30 now. That's fine with me. I appreciate all of the interaction, all of the comments, everybody who takes the time to watch. Like I said, I hope this case study was extremely useful for you guys, and I hope it's something that none of us will make that mistake ever. So I it's not for nothing that I put out these case studies. It's not like, oh, here's a case study that I figured out and whatever. No, it's usually stuff that I try to put out. It's usually stuff that it's to prevent you from falling down that same rabbit hole. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I Pico Boo says, "What do you find easier to work on?" This will be the last question that I answer. Um, it really depends. Uh, what do I find easier to work on? It would probably be BMWs. BMWs make it pretty easy. I mean, ISTA is like what, $30 a day, or we already have ISTA, but they make it pretty achievable for any other tech. The pass through the ICOM is what, maybe $700. I don't own one on my own, but if the Autel costs more than that, I think it's pretty doable. It's if I was to specialize in something, it would probably be BMW. Even though I got my ass kicked that one time badly, but still, I just think it's doable. It's easier, and they're pretty straightforward with the way they code things. If I wanted to stay away from something, Bentleys. I can't stand Bentleys. I cannot stand Bentleys at all. I just don't like them. I don't know why. It's just really, they really suck, in my opinion. But yeah, that's it. I don't think you'll watch all the way to the end, but I'll leave this here to close. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you all. This has been great. I hope to do this some other time soon. I want to document something and not publish it and make it a case study, something I can walk through. I don't know if you guys rather have videos or case studies, but I think a live case study is pretty cool because you get to ask questions and say what you want, and we get to address those questions and whatnot. So thank you all for taking the time to watch. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit like. Check back around if you want to see how this all started. It is a 3.5-hour live stream, and I'm going to cut it right at 3.5. Thank you all again, and I'll catch you all next time.